Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today we'll be local nursery plant shopping at North Haven Gardens to go see the plant swap by the Dallas-Fort Worth plant community. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video and following me on Instagram at Growfolds. But before we go into the plant swap, I did want to point out that we have a new podcast called Cultivation Corner.
I'm Steve from I Lift Plants, and that's what I do. I lift plants and spirits.
I'm Janae. My passion is to elevate plants with beauty and style.
Hi, this is Richie. I'm always finding cost-effective plant finds at big box stores and local nurseries. And the three of us
make Cultivation Corner.
Please follow us on Instagram at Cultivation Corner. And now for the main event, this is going to be the Dallas-Fort Worth Plant Collective Plant Swap. I was just really excited that I was able to go to this plant swap. I've been to a couple of plant swaps before, but I obviously haven't been able to film any of them. So the first one I'm going to show you is just a friend of mine. His name is Mark's Philos, and I purchased plants from him before whenever they've done a plant swap. I've actually bought a variegated Philodendron pedatum that has been doing amazing for me. Mark actually has an Instagram. It's at Mark's Philos. Definitely following him on Instagram. He's actually pretty close to where I'm based, that we're practically neighbors, and he's also a Filipino that collects plants, mainly aroids, specifically like philodendron. So you can see right here, he does have quite a bit of plants to go purchase from. A lot of them are either uncommon or rare. I love the fact that a lot of Mark's plants are priced at a pretty good price. So if you're looking for a starter plant, you can go to Mark, and he also has some amazing Anthuriums right here. So I'm actually part of the Anthurium era now, where I just really want to collect some Anthuriums. You can see right over here, plant foldies. And for those that are new to my channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. That was an Anthurium luxurians, amazing plant. And I'm just going to go show a couple of other philodendrons that Mark has right over here. You can see right here, this is a Philodendron Texas Jose Bono. So this is a beautiful variegated plant. I believe the Philodendron Texas Jose Bono actually came from Nirvana Tropicals. Please correct me in the comment section if that is not the case, but that is what I've been told. And then you can see over here, we've got a variegated Philodendron Orlando for $150. And you can see that the new leaf is showing variegation. And that's the thing about variegated plants. It's not always guaranteed, but if you're ever going to buy plants for, a rare philodendron or some nature, it's not always about the variegation of the plant. Sometimes you really want to take a look at the stem, because the stem is really going to dictate what kind of variegation or what continued variegation the plant will have. This one right here for $25 is a variegated Philodendron Hederaceum. I love that heart leaf. Philodendron, beautiful plant. Give it more light and you'll get even better variegation. And then here is another Philodendron Texas Jose Bono for $15. So if you want just a starter one, you can get one like this. Now these were all propagated from just node cuttings, or that's what Mark told me. And I just love the fact that he is super knowledgeable. He travels to a lot of these plant shows. I know that he went to the Plant Con as well as the International Aroid Show, and then he will also be at the Texas Aroid Show out in Houston, Texas. Now, for those that are in the Houston area or are planning to go to the Texas Aroid Show, October 26th, please make sure you are purchasing your tickets. I am honored that I was actually chosen to be a plant influencer there, so that's why I've been heavily promoting the Texas Aroid Show. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I would love to meet you guys. One thing that I always get questioned on is why I do not have a face reveal on YouTube. And to, answer it bluntly, it's really because I want to keep my personal life outside of YouTube and more so focus on the plants versus just me. Now, obviously, if you recognize my voice or see me around filming in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, please say hello. I love meeting people. And if you know me outside of YouTube, you already know I am a very sociable person. I love to talk to people, whether it's about plants or just anything in general. I'm pretty approachable, and I would love to just meet more of the plant foldies. But as far as a face reveal, that may not necessarily happen anytime soon. Maybe if you follow our new podcast, which is going to be debuting sometime soon, the Cultivation Corner with at Janae Simone and at I Lift Plants Steven. So please make sure you are subscribed to their YouTube channel, because all of our episodes, which will be about 35-minute, 45-minute episodes, will be uploaded on our different channels, and we'll have one playlist of Cultivation Corner. So if you want to stay tuned for all of the plant podcasts, definitely be subscribed for each of us. That way you can see all of the episodes. But anyways, going back to plant swaps. So what I do like about plant swaps is you get to really meet a lot of people that are very much passionate to plants. It's not necessarily like PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, or, you know, a big, plant show where you have all of these vendors. I would just say it's really more about the community, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know, being out in North Dallas, which is where I'm based at, there is a lot of camaraderie. There's a lot of kind people in the plant community, and just seeing the plant swap like this, being able to pick up all of these plants. These are plants that, you know, plant collectors have just propagated themselves to pretty much share with other plant enthusiasts. You know, what I like about Mark's Philos is if you really do want to get some starter philodendrons, like this one is a gorgeous Philodendron gloriosum. This one's for $20, but look at how healthy it is. You know that it came from a viable source. You know that it was propagated in-house, and that's the thing I love. I ended up getting this Philodendron Pluto. I offered to buy it, but actually Mark decided to just give it to me as a gift. You know, this one is for $10, but what I do love is the fact that he did gift this to me. So thank you so much, Mark. Maraming salamat po. That was an awesome gift to give me. And, you know, I've been looking to get a Philodendron Pluto. You know, it is the mother plant of a lot of the serrated philodendrons, like the Philodendron Ring of Fire, the Philodendron Caramel Marble, etc. And then you can see right here, there are some Anthuriums. That one is for $65. And the thing about Anthuriums, I won't even try to be a pro at trying to give you the plant IDs. All I know is the leaves are beautiful, and I figured out how to grow Anthuriums a little bit less hassle, and that is actually putting them in a semi-hydro substrate called leca and pon, mostly pon, and putting them in a plant room where you can control the humidity. So I usually have my humidity within 65 to 70%, and just having the Anthuriums in semi-hydroponics, spraying them with a neem oil spray. I use We the Wild Protect, and they've just done very well. Like this one right here, this Anthurium King of Spades, I definitely want to get one of these at some point. And what I like about Anthuriums, and what I didn't realize, is just the nuances and the leaf shape. Like there is just such a beautiful leaf shape with the Anthuriums. I love that it's either velvety textured, metallic looking, or even the veins, the dark foliage. There is just so many endless varieties of Anthuriums. I'm just going to call these the Anthurium cross hybrid. So there is a lot of crossbreeding and hybridization of these plants, and you know, that's something I would love to learn. For those that didn't get to watch my Steve's Leaves plant nursery tour, there were some hybrids that Ryan, the operations manager of Steve's Leaves, that had growing, and I just thought it was super impressive to see how that process works. I definitely want to learn more about that. And take a look at this gorgeous Anthurium by Mark's Philos. Look at how perfect the leaves are. Look at how the texture of the leaves is just satin velvety. It's so pretty. And while Anthuriums are slightly more expensive than the typical plant, these are plants also that are a little bit more uncommon. You really don't see them at a big box store, but you know, that's something that I would invest in. And like this one right here is a Philodendron cross with a Pastasanium with a Varicosum. That's pretty awesome. And then we've got a Philodendron cross again, which is a Choco cross and a Bellitier. So that's really cool. There's a lot of crosses that are happening with all of these philodendrons, and the same thing with this Anthurium luxurians. This is absolutely stunning. That is something that I want to add to my collection, and you can see right there, it is just perfect. If you know, Mark Philos actually sells at these local plant swaps, I would highly recommend purchasing from him. He is super kind, super down to earth. Love his stuff, and the fact that you know, I can reach him and see if he has any of these plants to purchase, I can definitely do that. And then the next plant shop I'm gonna check out, or vendor, would be Caleb's Tropicals. So he actually has an Etsy and sells as well in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So Caleb's Tropicals, he has an amazing set of Anthuriums. Please follow him at Caleb's Tropicals Tropicals on Instagram. Let him know you're a plant foldy. Let him know you're from Grow Folds. If you see his plants for the first time, he is known for a lot of the crosses of Anthuriums. But you can see right here, variegated begonia snowcap. This one's for $85, and that is one of my wish list begonias. Just because number one, begonia, that variegation is absolutely stunning. Now the price is a little bit high. I mean, I would just gonna probably wait until this begonia is a little bit more readily available. It is an angel wing begonia, so that would be a begonia I would definitely add to my collection. And then this is a Ginny Galaxy as well. Love that variegated begonia. That's another angel wing begonia. When I think about angel wing begonias, I think about my grandmother. She literally can grow these begonias. So maybe I should buy a variegated snowcap begonia, see if my grandmother can just like have them grow like weeds like she typically does with a lot of her begonias, and maybe we can sell them as well. But you know, what's also awesome about Caleb's Tropicals is he does have a lot of starter plants. Really like his setup. Really love the fact that he has so many different Anthuriums. Whenever I look at his posts on Instagram, I'm just really in awe of his collection of Anthuriums. And you know, like I said again, plant foldies, I am all about the Anthurium. I am in my Anthurium era. You know, I was talking to Lupita, who owns Pita's Planters. She's into Anthuriums as well. And I think the reason why I'm into Anthuriums is because I have figured out the plant care and what works best for my space. And I think that's the reason why a lot of us get excited about a certain genus of plants. I think when we have the right conditions, we're able to really enjoy the plant versus being stressed about whether we can keep the plant from going to plant heaven. I mean, I'm picking up a bunch of these variegated Alocasia as well. And what I have to say about Alocasia is I have gotten into Alocasia simply because I figured that once I move them to a substrate that's semi-hydroponics, that would be why it's a little bit more successful for me to grow. And you can see right here, this Anthurium is for $100, but you know, these are perfect Anthuriums, and you can see just the shape of the leaf, the velvety texture, the faint veining of the leaves. I mean, I'm in awe, and I definitely want to save some money to definitely purchase some of Caleb's Tropicals personal hybrids. You can see right here, this one is an Anthurium dock block crossed with the Chrysanthemum slash Forgetii. I think that that's really it. Now, if I'm not saying it correctly or that's not necessarily the case, please leave it in the comments. Again, I am all about learning about plants, and sometimes I don't know all of the facts. I just kind of go by what I've been told, what I've read, and what I've researched. And you can see over here, Caleb has his own hybrids from some of these seedlings. So you can see that he's already got some Anthurium seedlings started. This one right over here, you can see the cross. And I did end up buying an Anthurium seedling from Wild Roots Nursery, which I'm super excited that I hope to be able to someday visit the nursery as well, but they had some crosses of Anthuriums. But as you can see right here, $40 for this one right here. Look at that Anthurium. And you know, for those that are actually watching my videos, plant foldies, do you collect Anthuriums? If so, what are your Anthurium care tips? What would you suggest for anybody that's starting to add collection, you know, their Anthurium collection? Please leave that in the comments. I'd really like to just get more of your insights. And then again, right here, he does have some starters of Syngoniums. And the thing about Syngoniums is you can buy a starter plant like this, and you have a high success rate of being able to grow this into a pretty viable mother plant. Like this one right here is Syngonium tricolor red spot. That's only for $5. And rewind this about 4 years ago, something like this size would have been like $300 or $400. So that's, you know, a thing for those that are into these rare Syngoniums. There's a lot of new ones coming out, but I've learned my lesson in terms of purchasing an uncommon Syngonium like this. Let me tell you that I spent for just a one leaf, one node cutting of a Syngonium tricolor red spot, $200. I mean, I still have remains of the Syngonium tricolor, but you know, it's always, you know, advisable if it's only a want but not necessarily a need. That's going to be the new term, especially when we start talking about that for our new plant podcast called Cultivation Corner. Sometimes you want a plant, sometimes you need a plant. If you want a plant, you can hold off. If you need a plant, you need to buy it. And for me, you know, with Syngoniums, as much as I want the Syngonium, I just know that sometimes the plant pricing for an uncommon or rare Syngonium, you can hold off. Like even even Syngonium albos. Now you can find starter ones like this. I remember when the Albo was quite expensive. Now you can get one for like $10. And honestly, I ended up purchasing one from Caleb's Tropicals because I do want more Syngonium albos. The thing about Syngonium albos is if you do not pay attention or give them quite a bit of light, bright and direct light, they start to revert, and that's kind of what happened to mine. And I do want to get a Syngonium mojito. So here's the thing about Syngonium mojito. Love the speckling on the leaves. I mean, you can see right here, I ended up buying a Syngonium mojito as well from Caleb's Tropicals. You see how that it's got some beautiful speckling on the leaf. The thing about it is, in order for it to maintain that variegation, you have to give it quite a bit of light. It is one of those plants that doesn't really have very stable variegation. The variegation is very much so influenced by the amount of light given to the plant. So just as a caution for that particular Syngonium, you want to make sure that you give it quite a bit of light. Like if you're going to grow this, I would highly recommend growing it under a grow light, either on a south facing window or a west facing window where it gets a lot of light. And if you really want some good Syngonium albo variegation, also giving it quite a bit of light. But I love Caleb's little setup. You know, that's the thing that makes plant swaps fun is, you know, the vendors, they have a lot of tiny plants or starter plants to where you can get them. Like I ended up buying this one right here because I just thought it was super cute. This one is for $5, and I know that, you know, that all white leaf is a little bit risky because who knows if the next leaf is going to just push out another white one, but I just couldn't help myself, and I just love the look of it. But as you can see, plant foldies, this is my first time seeing Caleb's plant. Super impressed. You can even see he's got some variegated Monstera Adansonii. I regret not purchasing that because I don't have a viable variegated Monstera Adansonii, the Indonesian form. I've got the tricolor Japanese version that I ended up getting at Fitzgerald Tropicals, which is another local grower of rare and uncommon plants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Definitely follow at Fitzgerald Tropicals on Instagram. As I do a lot of the big box or plant shopping videos, know that I support local businesses, local small businesses, because I feel like they end up having the more just more uncommon and rare plants. I mean, like this one right here, I was almost wanting to pick this up. This is a semi-mature Epipremnum pinnatum yellow flame. It almost looks like a variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. That Epipremnum pinnatum, you know, for it to continue to fenestrate, you have to really give it a pole or some type of moss pole to grow. That is another plant though that is endemic to my home country, which is the Philippines. And you already know, plant foldies, if I'm doing a plant shopping video, I love to shout to the world that I am a proud Filipino American. And the reason being is I feel like there needs to be a little bit more representation when it comes to Filipinos and plant I guess YouTube. I know there's a couple of Filipino plant influencers, but I definitely want to try to get, you know, a kababayan community coming around, because a lot of these plants that we see, like these Syndapsis trubii Moonlight Albo, you can see right over here, that's another beautiful one for $60. Lots of Syndapsis, for instance, even the more rare and uncommon ones, do come from the Philippines. And, you know, when I took my vacation to the Philippines back in August, I was able to see a lot of these plants literally growing out in the wild, out in the jungle, on the side of the road, at a cafe. And, you know, it was just common. It wasn't something that was really expensive. And while I do love the Syndapsis Halley Moon, you know, that's something that I could probably get for a much cost-effective price overseas. And that goes to the next point, Syndapsis. Can we talk about how there's just so many varieties of Syndapsis that I wasn't even really aware of? You know, for the longest time, I just thought that, you know, the variegated Syndapsis trubii Moonlight was one that was super uncommon, but there are so many other varieties. And check this out. This one was not for sale, but look at how perfect this Anthurium is, and it is stunning. I want to get one of these little spinning things to feature some of my plants. I mean, that is super cool. You get a 360 view of it. You know, one thing I do want to maybe do eventually, and I have just so many ideas, is as I grow our platform for GrowFolds community, as I get involved into the Cultivation Corner plant podcast, I would also like to be somebody that could sell plants that I would either propagate. And, you know, that's something I'm interested in. I would love to orchestrate some type of plant swap. But that again comes over to the fact that, you know, it depends on the time I have as of late. And I do apologize for those that were expecting more videos from me last week. Last week was just super hectic with work. And even then I kind of just got a little bit more selfish with my time. You know, I have this routine where I literally go home after work, film, edit, go on a live premiere. And, you know, at some point I just wanted to get a little bit more rest. So I do appreciate all of the plant foldies that continue to watch my videos. For those that actually just team replay some of my older videos, really appreciate that. And then the fact that we had a teaser for Cultivation Corner, again, I am asking for you guys to go follow that on Instagram, share our teasers that will be uploaded on our shorts video. So that's what I would tell you, plant foldies. If you love all of these plant content, definitely be subscribed to the YouTube channel. But not only be subscribed, be sure that you have the notification bell on. That way, whenever we upload something like a shorts video or some type of community post, you are always in the loop with it. But again, we're gonna go back and just look at this beautiful Anthurium by Caleb. And then you can see that there's some more other plant vendors here. I think this plant vendor is the Eupholia plant, and they're still setting up, but I am going to go back to that in just a bit. I did come over a little bit early, and again, I'm trying not to get a lot of people in my videos because number one, I want to be really respectful to people's privacy. Not everybody wants to be on YouTube. It's like whenever I get asked why I am faceless on YouTube, it's more of just a preference where I would rather keep my personal identity and personal life outside of the social media. I feel like we're already super connected as well, and I also just want to see about really being more about the plants versus me. But anyways, as you can see, I did come to this plant swap just a little bit earlier, so people are still setting up. You can see right over here, they did have some raffle giveaways. Look at this gorgeous Rhaphidophora discordia. Love this plant, although this plant needs a pull and needs a lot of light, otherwise it tends to shoot runners. And then you can see right here, Vic and Vines. I will tell you about Vic and Vines. I was super excited, super sweet person that was selling these plants. Got to talking about how this particular seller actually sells Lechuza Pond. So if you are on Instagram and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you're looking for a viable place to buy Lechuza Pond, definitely follow Vic and Vines. I am a huge fan of pond semi-hydro substrate because it really has made my life so much easier in being able to grow some of these more finicky plants. You know, being able to grow like Anthuriums, being able to grow Alocasia, it's just a little easier for me. And honestly, I spent the other day last night, and that's the reason why I didn't debut a plant video, is because I converted even my Aglaonema into pond, and I think a lot of my plants are going to eventually end up going into semi-hydro substrates. I just feel like it's just an easier transition for somebody who doesn't water their plants quite often. That would be just something that makes my plant routines a little bit easier. But going back to the plant vendor, you can see that there are some starter plants. Vic did mention that you know, I didn't have as many plants available this time, but what I will tell you is all of the plants that were at this vendor were super healthy. I mean, look at how gorgeous this Hoya is. And I got one of my wish list plants, and that is a variegated Pachira aquatica, which we're gonna look in a minute. But look at how cute the little trellis is for this Hoya. You know, Hoyas in general, easy to care for plants. If you're able to give them higher humidity levels, more light, you might get them to bloom a little bit faster. And you can see right here, this is a variegated ZZ plant right here. This one is for $50. And then you can see we have a gorgeous Philodendron Red Anderson. So I actually have a Philodendron Red Anderson that I bought from Green Acres Nursery and Supply out in Melissa, Texas. But this one right here is a gorgeous looking one. And that was one that I was almost tempted to purchase as well. You know, when it comes to these Philodendron Urubescens, I think that that's what it is. They're just easy to grow, and I was so excited that I found this. For $60, this was not bad, a variegated Pachira aquatica, and it's a different kind of variegation, but this variegation is one that I don't really see often. And, you know, I just want a variegated Pachira aquatica. You know, they are easier plants to grow. What I would say about variegated Pachira aquatica though is you want to make sure that you are staying on top of the humidity levels, because Pachira aquatica can be susceptible to spider mites. Now, going back here, you can see that they have this other setup with all of these different plants, and you can see that there are some variegated cacti right here, 3 for $12. That is not bad at all. Love that as well. And you already know plant foldies, the ones that love succulents and cactus. Whenever I see some, I try to feature that. And then over here, you can see that this is another Anthurium. You know, to go back to the Texas Aeroid show that I'll be going to in about 2 weeks, super excited that I bought some Anthuriums from Green Spaces ID. That's a seller out in Indonesia, and I just couldn't help myself or get more. Now we're going to be looking at Emily's Exotics. So Emily's Exotics has a different variety of different types of plants. Emily has some of these carnivorous plants right over here. They've got some succulents and they've got some aeroids. She's just got quite a bit of plants, starter plants, and they were very cost effective in terms of the pricing. You know, that's another thing I would say. If you're able to go to a plant swap, you'll be able to get access to more of these plants for a pretty good price. And you know what I always tell people is, if the price is right, you definitely want to buy the plant. Don't even overthink it, just do it. That's kind of what I kind of live by in terms of just my mantra of buying plants like that right there. If you want a philodendron strawberry shake, that's not a bad price at all for $12. You can see right over here a really nice looking philodendron Florida ghost. You can see she's got some variegated Milano chrysum, I think. And then there's just so many other philodendrons. I did regret not purchasing that philodendron plomanii for my friend at Steven, and you know, at I Lift Plants. Like, he was looking for a plomanii. That plomanii that I'm about to pick up is gonna only be for $10, and I really thought that that was a good price. I regret not purchasing it. I wanted to give it to him as a gift, but you know, that goes to show that as far as these plant swaps, or actually it's only for $12 still. $12 is not a bad price at all. I would just say that these are just really quality plants, very good prices. And if you're able to go to a Dallas plant swap, definitely check that out. I definitely want to make some more appearances through there to either, you know, buy more plants or maybe eventually sell. We'll see how that all goes. But that is something that I want to go into a little bit more. So like that variegated Amidrium, that's another one that I was wanting to buy. And then we've got a variegated Monstera Peru. Love that as well. It's just a starter. But again, you know, a lot of these plant swaps, it's really about making more plants accessible to many people. And I love that. I love the fact that the Dallas-Fort Worth area has a very strong plant community. And I've had the opportunity and honor to meet a lot of these really kind vendors and just people who love plants in general. I think that's what makes me have a lot of fun in terms of just making this plant content, is the fact that I can get connected with so many different kind people. And, you know, I hope to continue to utilize this platform on YouTube to really connect people, to really bring a space where we can all just have really good conversation around plants. And then over here again, I did want to go back to Vic and Vine, so you can see that I was offered a free complimentary lechuza pond bag, which I could not refuse. And you can see that there are some lechuza planters. Vic actually sells these. So if you really want to get some of these lechuza planters and this particular sphagnum moss, definitely follow Vic and Vines on Instagram. That's just a really good place, and that's where I will be purchasing as well. Super excited that Vic is local and I can just send a direct message that way, and hopefully I'll be able to do some business with Vic and Vines. And then you can see right here, this is Lindsay, the crazy plant lady Linz. These are some of the plants that she had set up. You can see there's just so many different varieties of plants here. Some of them are like big box store common plants, but they're still beautiful. Like, I love that Alocasia Black Velvet right over here. And surprisingly, the Alocasia Black Velvet I don't have just yet. You know, there are some of my Alocasias. I did, you know, transfer them into pond. There was a situation where 2 of them did not make it through the transfer, but I could see that my my Alocasia transfers have started to do very well for me. They've started to just I guess acclimate to the new substrate, so that's always a good thing. And you can see right here, this is probably one of the premier vendors of this whole plant swap. I mean, take a look at this Monstera mint. This Eupholia plant is also owned by another Filipino American that is based out in North Dallas. Super excited to potentially buy a Monstera mint from her someday. And you can see right here, Philodendron Amazon spiritus. Beautiful Philodendron spiritus sancti. I think that's what it is. I remember when that plant was thousands of dollars, and now you can see it in real life. But they do have an Instagram. I think Eupholia plants. You can follow Eupholia plants on Instagram, and you can see that there are a lot of Monstera mints, Monstera Albo, and Monstera aureas. But one of my wish list plants is to get a Monstera mint. I will say that I did acquire a Kunzo white monster from a friend, and super excited to do that. I finally transferred the plant into Leca, and it's already pushed out a new leaf. But as far as variegated Monstera, while they're still fairly priced at a not the most inexpensive pricing, I would still say that it is just a beautiful plant. You know, a lot of these Monsteras, except the Monstera Albo, they're still priced a little bit high, but I can understand that because it is a beautiful plant, and I don't know if the tissue culture world has really mass produced them. And I ended up buying that Syngonium mojito as well. That was my second one that I bought at this plant swap. That one was only for $5. And when you look at the malted variegation, hers was super nice. And I want to be able to grow even more Syngoniums, but plant foldies. Let me know in the comments what you think of some of these vendors, what you think of some of these plants. Obviously, I will definitely buy from Eupholia plants soon because she has a lot of plants. And all I got to say is, as far as being a kababayan or a countryman from the Philippines, you already know we love to support each other. I really love the fact that she has some amazing plants. Like her and Mark were the Filipinos that were selling some plants at this plant swap, and you can see that they had some amazing philodendrons. This one definitely was a showstopper in terms of just some of the plants. You can see right there that there was a beautiful Alocasia. We've got some types of philodendron. I was just really excited to the point where I didn't even pick up the plants to find the plant IDs. The one plant that I wanted to buy really bad, but I really had to control myself, was buying a Philodendron Caramel Marble, because hers was only for $150, but it was actually a really good size for the Philodendron Caramel Marble. But then, you know, that's the whole question. Is it a want or a need? Mine is more, I had to really justify it as being more of a want, where I want the plant, but I could hold off of it. It's not necessarily I need the plant right now to where I have to just, fork over $150. Still, that's not anything against, her plants. It's just all about trying to be a little bit more responsible with some of the spending of plants. And again, plant foldies, I am just curious, do you just end up buying and buying and buying plants, and then at the end of the month you wonder what happened to your spending, how much money you spent on your plants? I'm just really curious if that has ever been the case, and if it is the case, what do you end up doing? Do you just do like a no plant buy? I'm just really excited to know about what you guys have done in the past, because I will tell you, the last 4 weeks or the last month since PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, I have probably spent more than a mortgage worth full of money on plants. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I mean, that's what you do with plants. You YOLO, you live once, but there comes a point where you do have to just reel it back a little bit. I have slightly reeled it back a little bit, but I will also tell you, through your viewership, through everybody watching my videos, through the people who have been kind enough to send me a monetary tip via a super sticker or a super fan thanks on YouTube, thank you so much, because that really does fund some of my gas money that for me to travel, and truthfully, some of my plant impulse buys. Like, I was almost impulse buying that Monstera mint. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like, I don't know, plant foldies, you've got to tell me if I'm the crazy one that's just all gung-ho about it, because all of these plants, like this Homalomena, this is a low variegated Homalomena black or pink diamond or something like that. I would still buy the plant because I just love the look of it. And you can see right over here, This is the coveted Philodendron caramel marble for $150. Like I really want to buy that, or I really wanted to buy it because you can see that there is some pretty good variegation already. And you know, that's just a plant I want to try to get a hold of. I don't know if I just need to go ahead and maybe invest in getting a tissue cultured one, which by the way, I still have one tissue cultured plant that I need to take out of the vase and see if I can start acclimating it. But going back to all of these plants, I mean, let me know what you guys think of Eupholia's plants. Really love that as well. And again, that is the reason why I am just excited to be able to live out in the North Dallas area, because I get to go to these plant swaps. And you know, this is a little bit of different content. It's more of just celebrating the local community, plant community. And I do ask for anybody that hasn't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do, because I do daily plant shopping videos, or at least attempt to, as well as the Cultivation Corner podcast. Please support us. Follow us on Instagram at Cultivation Corner. We'll definitely get all of the new updates for that. But as you can see right here, plant foldies. I did go back into North Haven Gardens just to show you a little bit more of the plants. So you can see that they have this huge hanging basket for $39.99 of Epipremnum aureum, global green pothos. Love the pothos plant. And you know, global green was a pothos plant that was discovered as a mutation out in Japan. That was another pothos plant that was quite expensive about 4 years ago. I remember a one leaf, one node cutting was like $50. And there are a lot of Japanese pothos or Epipremnum aureum coming out from Japan, specifically the Teruno series, where they still are quite expensive. I can totally understand, because they are very much so mutations of these pothos. And you know, those are hard to come by. As far as some of these pothos though, I would hold off on purchasing them, because I feel like once pothos become a little bit more readily available, the plant pricing goes down. Now with the global green pothos, this is another pothos. Well, actually, I would say a lot of pothos, their variegation, their coloration is really influenced by the amount of bright indirect light that they get. The better lighting they get, the better variegation you're going to get out of them, especially with the global green pothos. More bright indirect light is really going to push out that green on green variegation. And then you can see right here, we do have some maranthas, some green maranthas. This particular plant, or the prayer plant, maranthas are super easy to grow as compared to, say, a calathea or even a stromanthi. I think those are the less finicky ones. And you can see right over here, we do have, what is this? A calathea lancifolia. That one is for $19.99. It's a little bit pricey for that size, but it is a healthy looking plant. Here's the thing, plant foldies. Somebody did suggest, now that I have discovered the joys of growing in semi-hydroponic substrates called pond, maybe I can actually convert some of those calatheas into pond to see if I'd have a little bit more success. So we're gonna check that out. And then you can see right over here, this one is for $24.99. I don't really have this plant. I've seen the variegated form, and I would say the variegated form is absolutely stunning. And that would be another plant that I would, you know, maybe venture to look at. But I can't stop looking at these variegated global green pothos right over here. These are huge hanging baskets, and I love that. I just wish they had a 6-inch one, because again, the 8-inch hanging baskets to me just take up a lot of surface space. And then you can see right here, this is another Thenanthe plant. I actually got one at a big box store called Lowe's on 50% off, and it is actually doing very well for me. I am excited to show y'all my plant home tour at some point soon. I know I keep talking about it. I know I keep promising, but it is coming. There's just a lot of projects that I'm working on, and hopefully there's gonna be a little bit more consistency as I get that to all of our viewers. But again, if you made it this far and haven't hit the like button, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps push this video out to more people. And I didn't even realize the amount of viewers and subscribers we've gained since the last couple of weeks. Again, I wanted to take the time to thank you guys for tuning in. Our community is growing, and it's because you guys actually take the time to watch my videos in its entirety, to share them with your friends, and just to hit that like button. So again, please make sure you are hitting that like button. Now this calathea here, I did take a look at. That one's an interesting one. It almost reminds me of like a checkerboard piece. And then we can see right over here, there is the Dallas Bonsai Society. And so the, what is it? North Haven's Gardens actually has a lot of pre-bonsai, or you know, plants that you can start into a bonsai right over here. All you have to do is pot these up in a more shallow container. This one is for $39.99, and you know, that's one thing I do miss is actually creating bonsai. That was something that I heavily focused on about 4 years ago. It'd be something that I will revisit as I get more time and space to do so. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, I did just want to pan around North Haven's tropical area. There was actually Fitzgerald Tropicals that was doing a plant pop-up the day I did film this video, as well as the Dallas Fort Worth plant community that was doing a plant swap in the classroom. But you can see this is a pretty large ZZ plant for $279.99. Huge plant, you know, for what I would say as an instant gratification plant. If you want something that size, you can fork over that price. You know, with ZZ plants, they're not the fastest growing plant, but they're not also the slowest growing plant. It really just depends on the lighting that you give it. And then you can see right here, that is a Ficus Ali, beautiful plant as well. Again, with all ficus plants, please give them a lot of bright light. If you do not, they will become unhappy, and they may even potentially drop their leaves and just, you know, end up going to plant heaven. That's the thing about plants. Some plants, you know, the way I would say it is, you know, even with ferns, higher humidity levels, more bright light, and more watering makes the plant a little bit more challenging to grow. And that's the reason why, even though ferns are really pretty, my grandmother says they're quite easy. I disagree. I end up sending a lot of ferns to plant heaven just because I do not water my plants nearly as much. And the same thing with these begonias. So like, I don't want to like, you know, criticize some of these begonias, but this one right here, these are Rex begonias. You can see some of them are being super dramatic. Some of them just really need to be watered. With begonias, that's another plant that you want to stay on top of the watering. Otherwise, they end up being dramatic, and you know, they just end up going to plant heaven. This one, beautiful plant, $14.99. I only have one Rex begonia. It's doing well for me, and that's because I pretty much have kept it in like a saucer with a little bit of water just sitting there. I'm surprised it did not rot its roots, but it's doing very well. And you can see right there, Philodendron ring of fire. I would consider Philodendron ring of fire quite a common plant. And just begonias, look at this beautiful begonia. Like, they're so tempting. They're just as tempting as calatheas, but Rex begonias, they're challenging. Angel wing begonias are a little bit more forgiving. So if you're going to look at begonias, I would go with the angel wing begonia versus the Rex begonia. Rex begonias, if you're going to water them, please bottom water them. Do not get their stems, do not get their leaves wet. It's not the best thing. And if you can give them better humidity levels, they're going to be a little bit happier. Same thing with these ferns. So this one right here is a tiger fern, Boston fern, and it's basically a variegated Boston fern. Beautiful plant. Only $12.99. It looks like that one has been a little bit more sun stressed. It's gotten a little bit more light, which ended up bleaching its foliage a little bit. But, you know, needless to say, beautiful plant. And then you can see, as I pan away plant foldies, there's still quite a bit of plants that you can pick from. You know, with North Havens, it is one of the more premier nurseries out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know, it's one that I would frequent. It's the one that I would say, you know, if you're going to ask me as far as plant pricing, you can get some pretty good cost-effective deals at North Haven Gardens. And what I love about North Haven Gardens is they do have quite a bit of plants to choose from, just a huge diversity of plants. I mean, you can see right here, beautiful Rex begonia as well. Really love the look of that. I mean, I love the red tones. And, you know, after visiting Steve's Leaves, and I have to say to Steve's Leaves staff, thank you so much for being super accommodating, for allowing me into the Steve's Leaves space. I just was able to see the potential of some absolutely stunning, gorgeous begonia, and that's something I'll never forget. And just as more doors become a little bit more open for me in terms of just my plant journey and me creating plant content, I will just never forget the kindness that people have given me, whether it's a viewer that has watched my channel, whether it's a plant vendor, whether it's a specific nursery that's giving me opportunities to relook into their space. I always say that, you know, whenever there is a community, it comes twofold. There's always the positives, obviously, but also some of the negatives. But I can say that if you surround yourself with people that are super positive, positivity will always prevail. You know, I've seen some sad situations in the plant community where some people will either price gouge plants. people prop lifting, people being snooty about what, you know, plants are. You know, that's the kind of stuff I kind of steer away from. And what I love about our community though on the Grow Foliage YouTube channel is everybody has been very supportive. I love the fact that, you know, as we watch these video premieres live in the live premiere chats, and hopefully you'll make it to a live premiere chat if you haven't already, people sharing what goes on to their day-to-day lives and being a support system has really been amazing, and I love that. And then you can see I also love those Marantha plants right there. Very easy to care for plants when you compare them to their cousins like the Calatheas. And I don't want to sound like I'm just anti-Calathea. I think I just sound a little bit more bitter because Calatheas have always been the nemesis for me. For some reason, they just want to go to plant heaven. Same thing with the Hydra Helix, or what you call a Hedera Helix English ivy. That plant for me has gone to plant heaven 13 times. Syngoniums, I've had my fair share of Syngoniums make it to plant heaven, but for the most part, Syngoniums are not as challenging to grow if you can get them quite a bit of light, and as well as making sure you're staying on top of the watering. Syngoniums do not like to stay dry for too long. That's when they start to really start acting up. And then same thing with Dieffenbachias. So like Dieffenbachias, they are a finicky plant. I have one large Dieffenbachia that has a couple of leaves that have turned yellow. So hopefully it's not spider mites, but maybe it's because I just don't have the humidity levels. I'm still not giving up on it because it's still such a beautiful specimen. And I hope to show that in a, you know, a houseplant tour soon. And you can see right here, Alocasia poly. While I would love to add this to my collection, that's in a 4-inch planter for $9.99. That's actually a really good deal. Alocasia poly, when you compare them to other Alocasias, they tend to be a little bit bigger of a spider mite. And for some reason, I don't know why. Alocasia Silver Dragon, $59.99. It's a beautiful Alocasia. I am sad to report that the Alocasia Silver Dragon that I tried to convert in Pawn just did not take, and so that was really disappointing. So the Jacqueline, Alocasia Jacqueline, and Alocasia Silver Dragon just didn't make the Pawn transfer. So not all transfers into different substrates are always successful, and that's really the risk of moving a plant from soil into a different substrate. But you know, that is a risk that I'm willing to take because if it is successful, the rewards are satisfying. Love Ficus umbellata. I have one. It struggles, and I don't know if it's because I'm not giving enough light or if it needs a little bit more humidity. That is a ficus too that tends to be a little bit more spider mite prone, so you just have to be a little bit more cautious with that. And then as I spin around here, plant foldies, you can see that, you know, North Haven Gardens, aside from having a wonderful plant swap, they also have pop-ups from like Equigenera and some other reputable plant nurseries. So this is a place that I would recommend. They also have a really nice cafe. So if you ever just want to relax, chill, have some coffee, have some pastries, you can definitely go to North Havens. They have a beautiful cafe as well. But what I love going to this nursery is obviously they have some amazing tropical plants. This Indo-tropical section is always getting restocked with mini plants. And they also have a very nice selection of outdoor gardening plants. So there's just plenty of plants to pick from. And again, as far as like North Haven Gardens, I would say that their plant pricing is fair. Some plant pricing is a little bit more expensive than others, but you can find some pretty good deals. And as I spin around here, I just want to show you all of the plants that they have currently available. You can see we have some bromeliads right here. Love bromeliads. They're so pretty. There's so many ways to style bromeliads. And then as far as North Haven Gardens, they have an extensive amount of succulents and cactus. And that's really nice because not everybody is into succulents and cactus. I do understand that a lot of our grow folds, plant foldies may not be into succulents and cactus, but again, it is all about the plants. So whether it's succulents and cactus, rare aroids, Japanese maples, bonsai, flowering plants, you name it, I will feature it. And that's what really makes my channel a little bit more unique, is I'm not as niche driven. I really have a passion and love for all plants, whether it's outdoor plants, big box store plants, rare aroids, etc., etc. And you can see they have all of these different types of orchids. So typically we'll see just like Phalaenopsis orchids at a big box store, but you can see all of these beautiful orchids as well. And you know, I always have such a fun time at North Haven Gardens. And, you know, speaking of other local nurseries, I did want to just take a quick trip to the Prosper, Texas Callaway's Nursery. So you already know Callaway's Nursery, if you live in a Dallas-Fort Worth area, is a chain of nurseries out all over the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This one happens to be a nursery that's close to where I am based at, and so I often frequent this nursery. I like going to Callaway's Nursery because their plants are fairly priced as well. They have quite a bit of plants. They have many varieties of plants to pick from, and they have some pretty good sales. So you can see right here, look at this mum, $34.99, and so these are the white blue mums. So you can see that this particular mum bowl, you know, mound right here is in full effect. So, you know, as far as mums, if you want something that's already fully blooming like that, that's what it's gonna look like. Although all of those blooms will only last for about a week or two. So if you're gonna buy mums for the season, I would buy mums that haven't really bloomed yet, but when a mum actually blooms, I mean, look at how it has that mounding effect. It is absolutely stunning. And again, that is the reason why mums are very popular as like container garden plants. These are all 20% off, which I think is amazing. And you know, mums, the colors of mums, I think are really conducive to the fall season. And that's the reason why we see a lot of mums come out during the fall season. Same thing with croton plants. What I will tell you about mums are they are perennials. Depending on your grow zone, and I say this in every single video of mine whenever I feature mums, you can plant mums in the ground in your landscape depending on your grow zone, and they will come back year after year. Here's the thing about mums, I would not water the blooms on the top. I would try to keep from watering the blooms. I would try to water at the base of the plant. I mean, you can see right here, that is just several different mums actually growing into one big mound. That is so beautiful. And you can see it is late afternoon at Callaway's Nursery, but you know, this is a nursery that you can pretty much go to. Like basically for me, there's at least a Callaway's Nursery within a 15-minute radius from where I'm based at several locations. And so for those that you know, watch my videos often, I hope you don't get tired of Callaway's Nursery. This is a nursery that I wanted to make sure people were aware of. If you ever visit the Dallas-Fort Worth area and you love plants and you need to go to a plant nursery, I would recommend going here because it is easily accessible. You can see that they are very much seasonally sound with the displays that they have. They got different types of like pumpkins. They've got different types of ornamental plants. Like you can see here, another plant that makes its way into the fall season would be ornamental peppers. You can see these ones are for $7.99. And I really like that they have different colors of peppers. I tend to like the ones that are the dark foliage ones, like the purple ones, like this one right here. This is the one right here. I think this is the purple flash. Really like that. And I would try to grow this plant. That's only for $12.99 indoors to see if it could be something that I could grow indoors long term. There are some plants that I'm really curious to see if I'd be able to grow long term. We'll see if I could actually do that. But that is another plant that has piqued my interest. It'd be one that I would add, but you know, that goes to show again, plant foldies, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, is the fact that we have to really pace ourselves when it comes to plant shopping. You know, I have such an eclectic taste for different plants. And so for me, I end up getting myself into a little bit of trouble just because I want to just add everything into my plant collection. You know, I've seen myself literally fill up a basket full of plants and then realize that I may not necessarily have the right growing conditions for the plants. But more so for me, it has been more so about time. So I met somebody while I was actually filming some content for our new podcast, Cultivation Corner. If you missed the teaser for our video, definitely check out my shorts videos. We also have an Instagram at Cultivation Corner. Please follow that. Please follow and subscribe to at Janae Simone, at I Live Plants, Steven's YouTube channel. But I remember talking to this person while I was out at Peta's Planters the other day, and they mentioned how they watched the channel. They've been able to buy quite a bit of plants, but then it literally takes them all day to water their plants. And so as I show you all of these beautiful plants, these outdoor plants, my question is, plant foldies, do you spend about a whole day watering your plants? I mean, what does that look like for you long term? For me, if I were to really commit to watering my plants consistently, it would literally take me all day. And I don't have nearly as many plants as some of these other folks. So that's the reason why I have tried to slow down on growing plants. I have tried to find plants that are a little bit more drought tolerant, to be a little bit more forgiving. And so for me, plant foldies, I do ask if you can leave in the comment section what your watering routines are. You already know that, you know, my purpose for this channel is to really become more interactive with each other. And so I just want to know your insights. And then can we say that this is such a sight? Monarch butterfly. Now I know monarch butterflies are actually flocking to the south at this point, but for me, growing up as a kid, monarch butterflies were quite common. It is really sad to say now, apparently, either monarch butterflies are uncommon or are endangered species. Somebody please clarify that. And I feel like the reason being is because the monarch butterfly's food source has become less and less. And so like for me, it's just nice to see monarch butterflies just kind of be in person. The whole year I've not seen a monarch butterfly in person until the fall season. And speaking of fall season, can we say marigolds, these African marigolds, so beautiful as well. And that's another flower that really reminds me of my childhood, because that was the first flowering plant I've ever grown from seed. I've shared this story before, but my first time growing marigolds is because I bought a McDonald's Happy Meal. The McDonald's Happy Meal actually had a little tiny greenhouse container, and it had marigold seeds, and I grew them, and then I put them in my garden, and the rest is history. But I'm just gonna walk around here and kind of show you guys some of the outdoor section and some of these pumpkins that they have available. Citrus plant that I am interested and in the hunt for is a calmodium, or what you call in the Philippines calamansi. And it looks like they do have a calamansi tree here available, but it's a little bit pricey, so I'm gonna hold off on it. And now I'm just gonna walk over here and just show you a little bit more about this nursery. I've known, I know that I've shown you guys this Callaways a lot, but you know, they always have new plants, they always have a new display. And you can see right over here they have a bunch of chrysanthemum or mums available. You can see that they actually have the bloom color of the mum, which is really nice. And this is actually the state of the mum I would recommend if you really want to have that long fall color, last a little bit longer for you. And then I'm just gonna walk around here and kind of show you other fall plants that are available. You can see that this particular croton petra has more of a dark burgundy color, almost black color on the leaves. And that's the thing about, you know, croton petra. It really depends on either the lighting of the plant. Some croton petra are a little bit more yellow, some are a little bit more green, and some are a little bit more reddish or burgundy tone. And then as the season becomes a little bit colder, you can see that there are some more ornamental kale right over here. These ones I believe are for $2.99, and a lot of people use this as, you know, outdoor containers. They're a little bit more cold tolerant. You can see this one is the Osaka, for instance. There's a lot of Japanese kale, ornamental kale, that I thought was really interesting. Beautiful plants. I'm just curious to see if anybody's actually tried to go ornamental kale long-term in a container indoors, if that's even possible. Please leave that in the comments. I'm always wanting to just see folks that have had a lot of experience growing plants, if they've done that. And I did want to show you guys some of the plumerias as well. And the thing with plumerias is I love that they have a picture of the plumeria. I didn't even realize that my grandmother, who is basically the source of this madness, which is what I call my plant obsession, she told me during her interview that I interviewed her in one of my videos that she actually loves plumerias. That's her favorite thing. In the Philippines, they call them kalanchuchi. I think that's how you say it. And these plumerias grow rampant in the Philippines. They can become full-blown trees, and their fragrant smell of the blooms are just so sweet. I love the smell of plumeria blooms. I do have a variegated plumeria. I don't know if I can actually grow the variegated plumeria indoors. I would assume I would have to just grow them in under a grow light. And then you can see right here, we've got some ornamental chard. This one is edible, but you can see that the stems are yellow. This is the rainbow one. And I'm just gonna show you some more of these like seasonally sound fall/winter plants that you often see pop up. And plant folies, this is actually one of my favorite hanging baskets of trailing plants. Look at this spider plant. Look at the aerial roots. This is like literally ready to be propagated into several plants. I think that's super cool. Love the spider plant. You can see that there is Swedish ivy, there's a variegated Swedish ivy, and then we have Tradescanthia right here. So as far as a mixed planter, this is probably the one mixed planter that makes the most sense that I've ever seen. And you know, Callaway's Nursery, I believe, sells these mixed planters for $39.99. Very good price considering all of the plants are super healthy. It's a really large size hanging basket, and you've got all of these plants that are trailing. I love the colors and the texture of the leaves of all of these trailing plants, and you know, this is what I would say makes sense. So if you're gonna put a bunch of plants together in a combination, I would say do it to where these are the same growth patterns of the plant, same care tips, which makes it easier. And as I spin around here, we've got some more beautiful mums. Like literally this whole nursery today is full of mums, and I wanted to show you, look at these Christmas cactus. Wow. This one is for $29.99, and I was actually super tempted to purchase this one because I absolutely love the bloom. So, you know, with Christmas cactus, they bloom at a certain time of the year, and right now these are in full bloom. These plants are fairly easy to take care of. A lot of people take care of them. What's interesting is, from speaking to other viewers that have gotten Christmas cactus, a lot of times Christmas cactus are either inherited from a family member, either grandmother or an aunt or somebody that grew that almost as like a family heirloom. And you know, you talk about family heirlooms, I really think it's really cool to see that some family heirlooms are literally just plants. And honestly, I would consider all of my grandmother's plants family heirlooms because she has taken care of them for so long. You know, speaking of my grandmother, she loves begonias. These are called Riger begonias, and Riger begonias are begonias that are really grown not for their leaf texture, but really for their beautiful blooms. Look at how delicate, look at how demure, if you want to utilize that word. I just remember when, you know, folks were not using that word. That was actually a word I used way before it became such a social media Gen Z type saying, but it does have a very delicate look about that plant. And then I did want to pick this up right here. So here is another chrysanthemum or mum right here. Notice that there are so many different varieties of mums, and you know, I love the fact that each mum has its own characteristic, own color, own shape of the bloom, and sizes as well. There's just so many different varieties. You know, as far as mums, what's interesting also is that certain countries and cultures, like say Japan, they have a chrysanthemum festival. They actually call mums kiku, and they actually have a kiku matsuri, which is basically a chrysanthemum festival. And that's something that if you haven't already seen, definitely you look it up on YouTube or Google it. They've got some amazing looking hybrids of chrysanthemum in Japan. And then you can see right here, $14.99. This is in an 8-inch planter for some more Christmas cactus. So you can tell each Christmas cactus has different blooms. I've never really grown a Christmas cactus, and so when I did visit this nursery, I was really tempted to purchase Christmas cactus. Obviously I didn't, just because I had a little bit more restraint versus typical, my typical, grab and go, buy and not think about it. But if I am gonna buy a Christmas cactus, I would love to buy this one. Even though it just has like a white bloom, I really just like the simplicity of that. So I'm just gonna pick up some more of these Christmas cactus right here. So this is a croton type hybrid. I don't know what the actual name is for this one, but that would be one that I would buy for this size so I can get instant gratification. It takes a while to grow croton, but this one is beautiful. It literally looks like somebody splattered a bunch of yellow paint to it. I believe this one is for $29.99 in a 10-inch planter. Really like that a lot, and that might be something I will revisit and see about purchasing. I do love crotons. My grandmother, she has some really large ones, and for crotons, I know that it is one of those love-hate type plants. Some people love them, some people hate them. I love them, and the reason why I love them is because I've seen the full potential of these plants. Like, these plants can literally grow into large trees. And then you can see again right here, I'm going to pan over and show you some more of these Christmas cactus and begonias. I really love the look of these celosa flowers as well. These are for $12.99, and I just want to pan around here because this is the typical bloom of a celosa, but as I go ahead and pick up some of these plants, you will see that they've got some interesting textures and shapes to them. These are considered annual plants, so these are plants that will just grow for one grow season and then they will end up dying, and then you'll have to just replant them. But like, look at this one right here. Really interesting texture on the flowers. I find that quite interesting, and this one I haven't really seen at a big box store. This is a little bit more unique. Typically I see the one that's more like a cone at a big box store like Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot, but you can see that Callaway's Nursery, a local plant nursery, has all of these interesting blooms right over here. Now you can see this one is this twisted strawberry celosa. Let's see how much the price is. I believe it's only for $6.99. So that's the thing about local nurseries as well, especially Callaway's. Very good cost-effective pricing. It's one that I would recommend for anybody that is visiting the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so we're just going to keep looking at some more of these plants. You can see that there are several different types of crotons, mostly croton petras, which are actually on sale. And you can see this one is a croton mame. Again, plant foldies, I am curious to see if anybody else has plants that they're interested in terms of just the crotons. If you have grown crotons, how long have you grown them? How long have you grown them indoors? Because I say that crotons are a very challenging plant to grow indoors. Like, they just require so much light, and they actually prefer more humidity if you're able to give them. They are a plant that is native to Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines. So for me, trying to emulate these growing in conditions in North Dallas is just a little bit more challenging. But as you can see right here, you'll never run out of crotons. You'll never run out of crotons. Actually, especially in the fall season. They just pop up out of nowhere. Like this one right here is for $6.99. So depending on where you shop, you might be able to find a little bit more cost-effective pricing for crotons. The one I would possibly buy would be the one that was for $29.99 in a 10-inch planter. Like this one is such an interesting croton. This one is called the Picasso. Very fine thread-like leaves. And you know, with crotons, the general care tips would be, if you're able to grow them outdoors, grow them outdoors. They prefer more light. If you're going to grow them indoors, definitely grow them under a grow light, a south-facing window or a west-facing window. And you can tell that this particular Callaway's nursery does an amazing job with some of their displays. Look at that chrysanthemum in full bloom. And you know, this season, I would love to just grow some chrysanthemum, but I just need to get all of my things organized. I would say I struggle with a little bit of my prioritization when it comes to my plants and my personal like house chores. Now, as far as work, I'm great at prioritization because that's really you know, a critical part of what I do for my job. But when it comes to just like even YouTube, I kind of find myself procrastinating a little bit, and that is a habit I want to try to break very quickly, because I did not feel great not being able to debut and get you guys some more plant content, because I know plant foliage, you guys look for that. I look forward to actually meeting up with you guys and doing you know, live premiere chats, chatting with everybody, and just really interacting with one. So again, plant foliage, thanks for those who have given me the viewership. If you made it this far into the video and have not hit the like button, please make sure you are hitting the like button. You know, I repeat myself several times. I'm not shy to ask for that help, because I do realize that by hitting the like button, it really does number one, validate that my efforts to give plant chopping videos daily is valid. And then number two, it really does help push the content out to more people. And I really want to see our plant community grow. We are so close to 11,000 subscribers. And with all of our subscribers, again, I will be part of a plant podcast called The Cultivation Corner. It is going to be debuting soon. So please make sure you are following us on Instagram at The Cultivation Corner. It's going to be a fun show. But as you can see right here, this is a pretty consistent plant nursery. You can see they've got plenty of Hydra Helix, or what you call the Hedera Helix, or English Ivy. I haven't really run into a lot of English Ivy, so I'm kind of glad that I am able to find a couple to show you. That's another plant foldy staple. You already know plant foldies that love me saying Hydra Helix. I will say it whenever I can get a chance, but these ones are for $6.99 in a 4.5-inch planter. Now, if you're going to grow English Ivy outdoors as a ground cover, just know that it's a pretty invasive plant, and so you want to make sure that it is encapsulated in a border. Otherwise, it will take over your entire yard. And you know, English Ivy, it's a very challenging plant to get rid of once it becomes really established in the ground. As far as a houseplant, it is probably one of the most challenging plants to grow indoors long term, because it's such a spider magnet. And then you can see right here, we've got some Tradescanthia, Purple Heart, love the dark foliage. And that's the thing about Tradescanthias. As much as I love Tradescanthias, you can utilize them as a hanging basket plant, an indoor plant, or as ground cover annual. They just get really leggy very quickly. The only one that I would say doesn't get nearly as leggy would be the Tradescanthia Nanook, which is also my favorite Tradescanthia because it's got pink, you know, tones to it. And you already know plant foldies. I love my pink plants. I love my dark foliage plants. I just love plants that have a very striking color, and pink, it's just such a pretty color in general. I would even say that it's my favorite color, but you know, that really remains to be seen. As you can see right here, they do have a bunch of starters of Tradescanthia, and I'm just gonna walk around and show you some more of these other plants that they have. you could see that we have passed by some succulents and cactus. We're gonna keep looking at more succulents and cactus just because there are those that love succulents and cactus, and I do want to try to cater to everybody's interest on the channel. We're gonna look at this right over here. So we've got some Andiniums or desert rose right here, starters for $6.99. And if you want to get one of these, what I like about this plant is it is very much so drought tolerant. It's a little bit more forgiving than most succulent type plants. I really like that you can make them into bonsai, and you can see that there are many varieties that you can pick from. You can see that the starter ones in the 4-inch ones are for $12.99. That's not a bad color, and you can see that this one, it's got the bicolor blooms. These would be easy to make into bonsai, which I would actually venture out to do. Now, as far as like desert rose, I'm looking for more variegated forms. So I'm hoping that when I go to the Texas Aroid show, I'll be able to find some that are a little bit more variegated forms. I think that would be really nice. And you can see that they've got some Thai varieties as well. This one's the red form. And so I'm just going to keep showing you some more of these desert rose. And you can see right here, beautiful Monstera Thai constellation. The leaf has finally hardened. I remember showing this on film a little while back when it first unfurled, and it's got some really nice variegation. I would tell you with Monstera Thai constellation, they've got so many varieties. Some varieties are a little bit more variegated than others, but otherwise I'm just happy to see that there's more Monstera Thai constellations at a more affordable price. And then you can see right over here, plant foldies, we've got some Epipremnum pinnatum, yellow flame. This one's actually the more mature form. This is how they look out in the Philippines. You know, this is a plant that's endemic to the Philippines, and that's really what they look like versus growing them as a trailing hanging basket plant. That's oftentimes we'll just see the juvenile form, but that is the mature form. And as you can see right here, Callaway's Nursery, at least this one has some more rare and uncommon collectible philodendron. This one is a variegated molted philodendron, golden dragon. You can see that they've got another type of philodendron here. That's a philodendron paraiso verde. We've got a philodendron hope here, which is oftentimes mistaken as a Selum. That one is for $16.99 in a 6-inch planter. And so if you're a philodendron collector, you can find some philodendrons at a pretty cost-effective price. And then you can see that there are several Monstera Thai constellations. They've gone down in their price. Now their Monstera Thai constellations are for $39.99, which is actually not a bad price at all. I would say with Monstera Thai constellations, try to look for one that is a little bit more variegated. I think that as far as the variegation, a highly variegated Monstera Thai constellation is most likely going to get you even more variegation. And I do love these Anthurium clavinariums right over here. You can see how beautiful that heart-shaped leaf is. It's growing in a crate. This one is for $59.99. And what I would do actually is if I bought one of these crates is I would actually take it out of its crate and put it in a semi-hydroponic substrate like leca or pond, most likely pond. And you can see right here, I did end up buying this Xanthosoma. Mine is still doing very well, and it was only for $16.99. You can see they've got several Aglaonema right here. A lot of these are in 6-inch planters, only for $16.99. This one is called the Aglaonema Silverado. Beautiful Aglaonema. This is another one that I would add to my collection. So the greener varieties tend to be more larger foliage versus the more colorful ones that you'll see as hybrids coming out from Thailand and Indonesia. But needless to say, the green silver foliage ones I absolutely love as well. I mean, I just love Aglaonemas, and you know, it is a question that I ask a lot of our viewers. Why is it that not more people are talking about Aglaonemas? Why are more people not posting about them? Why are more people not running to big box stores or really trying to get more Aglaonemas? I feel like I know the answer, but that would be something we are going to discuss in our new podcast called the Cultivation Corner. So again, plant foldies, please make sure you are following us on the Cultivation Corner on Instagram, as well as checking out some of our preview trailers of our show. I think you guys are going to really have fun with us, and it'll just be fun to really get to know my friends Janae Simone, as well as Steven of I Live Plants. I feel like we have some really good chemistry. We've got some really good conversation, and there's not a lot of plant podcasts available, or at least if you know of any plant podcasts that you listen to, please leave that in the comment section. I'd really like to get the formatting or maybe the topics that they talk about, because this is a huge project. It's a project that I am hopeful for, and I feel like it's going to be successful only if you choose to make it successful, and that's through your viewership and for you guys tuning in and listening. So we'll see what that looks like. But going back to the plant foldies, we do have some more zebra plants. This is a plant that I've talked about where it doesn't really pique my interest for some reason. It's just a plant that I don't know, it just doesn't really pique my interest to where I would pick it up, even though it has some really nice foliage. I also did end up getting this variegated Alocasia Frydek. It was given to me as a gift by Reina's Greenhouse, which is one of the sellers out at the PlantCon 2024 in Dallas. Really thankful that some people have just really gifted me some gifts of plants. I mean, that is just super cool that people are kind enough to share plants. That's something I want to eventually do as I propagate and create more plants, is to be able to share them with our viewers and subscribers. I haven't been the most prompt in being able to send out some of my plant giveaways. Again, life gets in the way. I just kind of procrastinate. And while that's not an excuse, I'm just being really transparent. Sometimes I just get a little bit more distracted. But as far as this week, I'm hoping to be able to get some more plant content to all of our plant foldies. Thank you for being patient with me. Just know that a lot of really cool things are coming to the channel, as well as just my project with Cultivation Corner. Over here, we've got a dracaena lemon surprise, beautiful plant, easy to care for plant, a plant that is, again, underrated. It's a plant that I think that everybody should at least give a chance to grow, because it is an easy to care for plant. It is a plant that is commonly found at a big box store. It is a plant that has some really nice foliage. It is low light tolerant. It is drought tolerant. It's just a plant that we just need to see more people getting into. There's just a lot of plants that I just feel like don't get the recognition or attention that they need. And that's the reason why I want to just kind of plant fluence to everybody. I want to see if more people will just get excited over these plants. Like Hoyas, though, I don't have to really sell Hoyas, because there are so many people that love Hoyas. I am definitely what you call a Hoya head, somebody that just absolutely loves them. And that's another plant that you can never really go wrong with, because they're super forgiving. Now, as far as plants that I really love, and I love the fact that these are readily available, Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos. Look at that variegation. So this is basically the variegated neon pothos. This one was a plant that was highly expensive a couple years back, but now it is available at a local nursery like this for $6.99. I am propagating lots of Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos. In general, I've actually cut up about 50 cuttings of pothos plants, because I am back into my propagation era where all I want to do is propagate plants. I just find joy seeing them, root up and get some more plants. And that's something that I feel like I need to revisit, because I stopped doing that for a while, and I think it's because I just ended up inundating my plant collection with more plants that I don't necessarily need. But the process of seeing plants root up, it's just a lot of fun, and it's another way to be able to give people plants. And that's what I'm going to intend to do with some of my pothos propagations, is to possibly get that to more of our viewers. So I do ask plant foldies, what plants do you actually propagate? What are you currently propagating? What plants do you think I should propagate? I'm kind of trying to follow suit with my grandmother, who basically propagates everything. And when she propagates it, she's got like a 99% chance of being super successful. I can't necessarily say that about myself. Now, this is another classic plant, another very cost-effective plant. Actually, it's actually inexpensive, $6.99 for this Philodendron hederaceum Brazil. Beautiful plant. And if you're ever trying to do like a living wall, you could buy several of these 4.5-inch planters and just have them displayed on a wall. That would be super cool. And you know, with Philodendron hederaceum or Pothos plants, you can let them trail, but really to get the full potential of their beauty, you want to have them grow up a totem pole or moss pole. And then over here, Plant Foldies, I did want to show you a couple of their starters that they have. So I ended up buying a couple of Especia or Flame Violet. And then you can see they've got some croton plants right over here. Love that metallic shine on the leaves. This would be another plant that's fairly easy to propagate. It's a pretty fast grower as well. I'm glad that I was able to get the pink variety. I think it's called the pink smoke. That's one that I want to hopefully get into a pretty good size and be able to share with our viewers. But you can see they've got different Especia or Flame Violet varieties. These are all for $2.99, so it's not a bad price for a starter plant. They do have a bunch of Costa Farms hanging baskets of that, but you know, if you want to just start out small, you can always go for a starter plant. You know, the 2-inch starter plants, that's the beauty of growing them. Like this one right here is a really cute croton. Mame right there, or is it bush on fire? I'm not sure, but it is a beautiful, cute plant. And then they have a bunch of these bonsai. So it looks like a lot of Callaway's nurseries have gotten bonsai, and this is one that I'm eyeing. This is a variegated Ficus benjamina. This is already in bonsai form. I really like the look of this as well. This is another plant that I was really debating on purchasing because it was only for $29.99. Obviously, it's going to need some work in terms of the shape of the plant. It looks like it hasn't gotten any wiring, but that would be something I would venture into wiring up. I do have a variegated Ficus triangularis that has been doing very well. And I also have a variegated jade bonsai that I made, you know, but this is one that if I were to buy a bonsai, I try not to buy bonsai anymore because I can basically make one myself for a lot more cost-effective pricing. But that one is a really pretty one. Love the variegation on it. It's very striking. I'm pretty sure when I come back from Callaway's, that's probably going to be sold. But bonsai, I feel like, is not nearly as popular as it was in the past. And so I want to try to show some of these forms. It is another world of plant growing. You know, there is a very aesthetic, very specific aesthetic behind bonsai, but that for me, you know, I have a very eclectic taste when it comes to plants, and that's something that, you know, I want to definitely share with everybody. Like this one right here is what you call a shohin bonsai, so it's a smaller variety of bonsai. I actually really like that. The thing about bonsai is the majority of these bonsai trees are really meant to grow outdoors. A lot of people try to grow these indoors, like the junipers or even this, but they definitely need to be outdoors for them to really thrive. There are some tropical bonsai trees, you know, plants that you can grow indoors, but for the most part, bonsai need to be grown outdoors. Just FYI, just so that way you don't end up sending a bonsai to plant heaven. And then I'm just going to keep showing you a couple more plants before I end this video. You already know this is one that I always want people to run to the store and buy. This is a Dracaena Janet Craig compacta, beautiful plant. It's another one that is highly underrated. We have a bunch of ZZ plants and Sansevieria right over here.
All of the love from up above, we used to feel like a glove.
That Callaway's, especially the Prosper location, has a lot of plants to pick from, you know, those Sansevieria. And I always love featuring this Monstera deliciosa. So you can see the potential of a Monstera deliciosa and what size it can reach if you allow it to grow on a pole. And I love all of these larger Dracaenas here. You already know, Plant Foldies, that we all need to add Dracaenas into our plant collection because they're easy to take care of and they're beautiful plants. I just don't understand why they are so underrated. And, you know, if you tune into our Cultivation Corner podcast, I think you'll get more insights about why certain plants are a little bit more popular than others. And, you know, that's just something I want to talk about and discuss whenever we get into our podcast. for cultivation corner. But as you can see here, Sansevieria as well. You know, what's interesting about Sansevieria or snake plants is they really are marketed as an easy to care for plant, but they're not as easy as you think. If you're going to talk about, you know, easy plants, I would say ZZ plants, but I couldn't help myself, but I wanted to end up buying these Sansevieria starters. This one is only for $3.99. Really nice looking one. And, you know, I'm going to buy, I think, 2 of these today. And the reason being is I do have areas in my home that I want to put something that could be a little bit more low light tolerant. Like this one right here, I may end up buying. I really like the look of this one. It's not perfect, but it's one that I can work with. And I do have some tiny IKEA planters I can put these in, some gray ones. And so that is a pretty good buy, actually. $3.99 for a Sansevieria. And you know, that will eventually grow, but I do like the size. Like this one is probably the one I will purchase. Plant Foldies, let me know if you would purchase this Sansevieria. I really like the look of this one. I think this is a bird's nest Sansevieria. And you know, with Sansevieria or snake plants, you can get more out of them because for propagation purposes, they tend to push out babies or little pups. Actually, I might buy this one because that doesn't have as much cosmetic damage. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. So we'll just keep looking at these plants. You can see lots of bonsai. I keep looking at that variegated Ficus benjamina bonsai. It doesn't really have the shape that I want yet, but it would be one that if I bought, I would definitely wire it to give it a little bit better shape. But it's a pretty good starter bonsai. Let me know in the comments if you agree, and if you made it again this far into the video and still haven't hit the like button, please make sure you are hitting the like button. I'd really appreciate it. And then over here, classic plant, another plant I think everybody should add to their collection. That is an Aglaonema Silver Bay. That one is for $39.99. That's actually a pretty good price for that size of an Aglaonema. And then as I spin around here, we've got some Pachira aquaticas, some air plants, which I don't know quite about air plants, but you know, that's something I'm willing to learn. It's just that as far as air plants, I don't even know if they're really alive, but people say they're real plants. So I'm going to go with what you tell me. And then you can see over here, we're going to look at this table full of stunning looking cyclamen. And the thing about cyclamen again is they tend to come out during the fall and winter seasons when it's a little bit colder. This one is really nice as well. What an interesting shape of the bloom. And you can see that the patterns on the leaves are pretty cool as well. We also have just many different types of cyclamen. That's something that I was told, though, they're kind of tough to grow long-term indoors. Let me know in the comment section if you grow a cyclamen long-term indoors, but there are quite a bit to choose from, and all of these are for $6.99 at Callaway's. And then we're going to be looking at Coleus plants to end this video today. These are all, let's see, for only $6.99. That's actually not a bad price for Coleus plants. And with Coleus plants, some of them prefer to be in shade, some of them can be in full sun, but what I'll tell you is Coleus plants have the highest propagation success rate whenever you just take a cutting, stick it into soil. Literally, they just root. They're so easy to grow, and there's so many different varieties. They're very much versatile plants. People will say they're more of like an outdoor patio plant, but you can grow them as gorgeous house plants indoors as well. So that's something that I want to try to influence people. I know I talked quite a bit about Coleus plants earlier this year, especially when I was doing videos in the spring. It's nice to see that they have popped up again in full force for the fall season. They kind of disappeared out of big box stores and local nurseries when it was actually really hot out in North Dallas. Maybe it's because Coleus plants are very thirsty plants, so maybe it was just a little bit more challenging to keep them in stock and to grow them. But as you can see right here, Plant Foldies, Callaway Callaway's Nursery, it always does the job in terms of just having a full, healthy looking nursery. I mean, you can see this is a polka dot plant. Love it, but that's another plant that, as tempting and as gorgeous as the foliage is, it's one that I will not add. I do have an Algerian ivy. It's doing okay. I wouldn't say it's really thriving in my care. Seriously though, any type of ivy, they just don't do well indoors. Put them outdoors and they will thrive. But as you can see here, all of the beautiful, colorful plants. I'm glad that I was able to show the plant swap as well. And then just to be able to plug Cultivation Corner podcast, please definitely follow the Instagram Cultivation Corner. Subscribe to Janae Simone and Steven of I Lift Plants YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please, please, please hit the like button. I know you're listening to me, Plant Foldies. Hit that like button for this video, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel. Lots of exciting videos to come out this week. Hopefully I'll be a little bit more consistent. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope everybody has an amazing evening. I'll see you then. Bye. Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be local nursery plant shopping at North Haven Gardens in Dallas, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video and all of my videos, as well as following me on Instagram at GrowFolds. That is the fastest and most direct way to get in touch with me. Plant Foldies, you already know I love to interact with everybody. And if you love daily 1 hour plus shopping videos for plants, please subscribe to my YouTube channel with the notification bell on. That is a way to keep in touch with me as well, and to be also notified whenever I do live premiere chats. But anyways, Plant Foldies, we are at North Haven Gardens in the heart of Dallas, Texas. This is one of the oldest nurseries out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And today I'm actually going to North Haven Gardens to feature some of the plants that they sell, but also to showcase Fitzgerald's Tropicals plant pop-up. Fitzgerald Tropicals is actually a local grower out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They specialize in Monstera albos and some of the more rare and uncommon plants. So I definitely want to check that out. But I also want to feature North Haven's plants as well. You already know we are in the heart of fall. It is the first week of October, and we're already seeing some beautiful fall colors and also fall plants. So we're going to see what they have over here. There is also a plant swap that is going on, so I will have that on a later video. But right now we're going to walk through here and see what North Haven's has. You can see that they do have some plants that are going to be indoors. I'm not going to go through each one, but what I will do is just showcase some of the plants that we typically see out in the fall season. So we'll see a lot of ornamental peppers. We'll definitely see a lot of croton plants, and we'll definitely see a lot of pumpkins and gourds, and also chrysanthemums or mums. You can see right over here they have several of these plants pumpkins and all of that. I did miss not doing a live premiere the other day. I was just super busy, Plant Foldy, so thank you for understanding that I had to take one day off. But today I'm back with a brand new video just featuring a amazing local plant nursery. So a lot of you guys will watch my plant YouTube channel so you can see some of the big box store plant shopping, but you already know that I love to support local businesses, small businesses, and so you'll see a lot of that mixed in with my big box store plant shopping videos. It is a beautiful morning, so whenever I filmed this particular video, I came here around 9:30. So I've told all of our viewers and subscribers, and for those that are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Richie. I call my viewers and subscribers Plant Foldies. I love mornings. Morning is probably the favorite time of the day for me, just because I feel like the morning light is just more gentle, and then I just being able to wake up and be alive and just really celebrate a new day is just something very symbolic about it. It's the same thing whenever you look at some of these plants. For me, I love to feature all of these plants. Like for instance, this ornamental pepper here, love that purple lavender variegation. It's just a joy for me to showcase all of these plants that are available. Like this one right here is a pepper ornamental for $10.99. You can see that it's got some dark purple, dark foliage leaves. I've mentioned this in pretty much all my videos, but I am a huge fan of dark foliage plants. Now with ornamental peppers, they are really meant to be grown outdoors in a shaded area. Now you can attempt to try to grow these indoors. With a lot of plants, whenever you think about quote houseplants are really plants that are a little bit more low light tolerant, or plants that you bring into your home, as long as you're able to replicate their specific needs, you can pretty much grow any plant indoors. Some plants are a little bit more conducive and more meant to be grown indoors as compared to others. I would say pepper, ornamental pepper plants, it is a little bit of a 50-50 on whether you can grow those plants long-term indoors. I am under the notion that I could potentially grow certain plants that are really meant outdoors as maybe like a patio plant indoors, as long as you provide them with bright indirect light. You stay on top of the pest control, because if you bring, for instance, a purple flash ornamental pepper right here, this plant may be potentially prone to spider mites. What I've noticed with a lot of the plants that we try to bring indoors, whenever you bring them in an indoor setting, number one, they don't have natural predators to get rid of some of the plant pests such as fungus gnats, spider mites, mealybugs, and thrips. So that alone makes the plant a little bit more susceptible to like plant pests. And then number two, sometimes a plant is just not going to be as happy being outdoors, which means that it tends to be a little bit more compromised in its potential health, which also sends pheromones to potential plant pests to want to attack it. So, for me, if you're able to grow these plants that are really meant to be outdoors, indoors, kudos to you. But I would just be a little bit more cautious about bringing particular plants indoors. Now, as far as North Haven Gardens, they really do specialize on so many different types of plants. They have indoor tropical plants, which we will look at in their indoor tropical greenhouse. They've got landscaping plants, they've got vegetables, they've got herbs, they've got succulent plants. They even have like a little farm tree section as well, which we won't really visit, but I did want to just showcase some of the plants that they have in the outdoor section. Now, they have an Ikebana club, which is basically the art of flower arrangements, and the Japanese art of flower arrangements that you can join. They also have the Bonsai Society that meets as well. So those are a couple of like clubs that you can actually join if you're a local plant foldie. And you can see over here, we have some straw flowers. Now, what I've always thought about straw flowers is that they were just like fake ornamental flowers, but they are a legit flower that blooms. Whenever you touch the flower or the bloom, it does feel like straw. Now, as far as being able to keep them alive long term, I'm not sure if they really do hold on to their colors, but I do find that interesting that it really does feel like straw. That is a plant that I've never grown. They've always fascinated me. I mean, if you look at the blooms right there, really interesting blooms. They could fit more so with the fall decor that you could possibly have out in your outdoor patio. But as I pan away over here, I love the fact that North Havens is actually a really big nursery. It's one of the biggest nurseries out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you are not a local Dallas-Fort Worth area, local, and you're just visiting the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I would recommend checking out North Haven Gardens if you really want to see a lot of plants in just like a space like this. Now, I did want to also point out marigolds. So marigolds are a classic plant, and I would say this is a classic flowering plant. The thing about marigolds is that they do need to have a lot of sun, so direct sun, and don't water it too much or fertilize it with too much nitrogen. Otherwise, you'll get more foliage versus blooms. Now, we've got a pechoa here, which is basically a hybrid of a petunia and a calabachoa. So I thought that was really interesting. And you can see that they have some beautiful blooms right here. If you really look specifically at how close the blooms are and just like the nuances of the blooms, you'll see lots of levels of color and gradations. They really do look like petunias and calabachoa, but these are called pechoas. So it's really interesting to see that they have a hybrid of that. And then I'm going to spin around here and show you some more marigolds. So as a kid, I actually grew marigolds from seed. I remember buying a McDonald's Happy Meal, and the Happy Meal had like a little miniature greenhouse, and they had potting mix as well as like a couple of seeds of marigolds. I was able to germinate them and actually got marigolds to grow. Now, marigolds, if I were to grow them, they're very good plants to be as a companion plant, especially if you're going to grow them outdoors in a vegetable garden, because marigolds actually repel plant pests like aphids and other plant pests. For some reason, I think it's either the scent or something that actually prevents the vegetables from getting a lot of plant pests. So that's a good companion plant. And as I venture out and do more plant content aside from indoor tropical plants or big box or plant shopping videos, I will start talking about landscaping aesthetics, also just landscaping basics and just how to garden. I think that if you have the space, definitely invest in doing a garden. I think it's really satisfying. I know that I haven't really featured a lot of my outdoor garden this year. I may do that next year, but I do want to feature my garden as well, as because I have been able to grow a pretty successful garden, and most of my plants, my vegetables and my flowers have been grown straight from seed. But as you can see right here, it is a beautiful morning. I filmed this the first week of October because I was super excited to go see the plant pop-up by Fitzgerald's Tropicals, as well as the plant swap. So I haven't ever been to like a DFW plant swap, so we're gonna see what that looks like in a latter part of the video. But as you can see right over here, we do have a bunch of chrysanthemums, and with chrysanthemums, there are many different varieties. There's many different colors. What I like about chrysanthemums is that they have a mounding effect. So their natural inclination to grow would be like more of like a mound or like a bush, which I really like the shape. They make really good patio flowers. So you can put them in a container and grow them as a patio flower arrangement. They come in many different colors and varieties. What I would say about chrysanthemums is get them as much light as you can. I don't know if you would necessarily put them out in full sun. So plant foliage, again, if you know a little bit more about the plant care tips of chrysanthemums, please leave that in the comments. You already know I love engagement, and for those that do take the time to hit the like button for my videos, number one, as well as leaving comments, I really appreciate that. So let me know what you think about mums, and let me know about the care tips for mums. But what I do know about mums is whether you go to a big box store like Lowe's, Walmart, or Home Depot, or a local plant nursery like North Haven Gardens, you will see mums, and it just really depends on the plant pricing for me on mums. I ended up buying 2 mums in a 6-inch container at Callaway's Nursery, which is also a local plant nursery out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the reason why I bought it is because they had the larger blooms, the ones that you would see at a Japanese chrysanthemum or mum festival. So in Japan, mums are really celebrated, and that's the thing I love about Japanese culture is their love for like specific plants and just how they celebrate plants. It's a really amazing thing to see. I hope to one day be able to go to Japan and actually see that festival. But as you can see right here, going back to all of the plants, there are quite a bit of plants to pick from. You can see we've got a bunch of crotons. So the most common croton you will find would be a croton petra. We've got some croton mames and some different types of crotons. I do wish that there would be more pink varieties of crotons. So if you see crotons from overseas like Indonesia or Thailand, or if you've ever like imported plants, you'd be able to see that. But let's go back to these chrysanthemums. Look at how large the chrysanthemums are. Look at how they've already mounded. I would recommend buying a chrysanthemum that is not in bloom like this if you want to buy chrysanthemums and actually have them last a little bit longer in the fall season. So this one is only for $29.99. That is an amazing price for such a big mound already of potential chrysanthemum. If you buy chrysanthemums, say from a grocery store, normally they're already in full bloom, which means that those blooms may only last for like 2 to 3 weeks. You can get them to rebloom if you cut back the blooms and let it dry out a little bit, and then water it again. It'll just promote a little bit more growth. Now with chrysanthemums or mums, they are considered perennial plants, and I've mentioned this in all my videos. You can plant them in the landscape in the ground, and if they are a perennial, depending on your grow zone. So my grow zone would be 8B, and it actually is considered a perennial in North Dallas, which is where I'm based at. They will come back year after year and actually potentially multiply and spread. So I think that's really cool. But as you can see right here, the sunlight is just beautiful. You can see that North Havens has a lot of pottery and planters that you can pick from. You can actually buy plants and have the staff repot them or make a potting arrangement of different plants, which is what I really like too, is that they have additional services for it. But a lot of times North Havens will have what you call pop-up shops. Equigenera has been here before, and Fitzgerald Tropicals typically does pop up at least once a month. They took a break last month, so just really excited to see what kind of plants they have available. Again, we are about to enter the greenhouse, so I consider this entering paradise. You already know that I love my house plants. I love my indoor tropical plants, and here we go. Here is a plant pop-up by Fitzgerald Tropicals. I wanted to get here first thing to feature a lot of their plants. You can see right here they've got a Syngonium aurea for $35. Look at that variegation, and again, with Syngonium aurea, areas, their variegation is a little bit more unstable. So you want to make sure that you're providing it with the best light. I would say you get more reversion with lower light conditions for a Syngonium aurea. And then you can see right here, Fitzgerald's Tropicals is really known for their Monstera albos. They've got some really good genetics. And the thing about Fitzgerald's Tropicals is all of the plants that we're featuring, like this Philodendron Florida Beauty for $75, is they are propagated in-house. They have been doing this for years. So it's not like a small business that just decided they wanted to get part of the plant trend and, you know, start a business. They've been doing this for quite a while. So I would say, as far as being a trusted small business, definitely purchase from Fitzgerald's Tropicals. I mean, you can see that they have various different types, Monstera albos, and they are willing to help choose which one in terms of variegation. They never really guarantee specific variegation because, especially with Monstera albo, it really depends on the stem variegation. It can be random, but it also can depend on just the plant's initial genetics. I happen to invest some money in buying a really good, highly variegated Monstera albo from Fitzgerald's Tropicals, and it has already grown so many leaves. I'm really tempted to chop it, but then I also want to grow it into a specimen plant. And you can see right here, plant foldies, they do have some Syngoniums as well. That is a Syngonium Pink Splash. And I'm just going to pan away here. So they're just still setting up. And, you know, I'm just being that one really funny plant content creator, just looking at all of these plants. I'm super excited to see it. Philodendron Variegated Domesticanum for $45. And I know that Philodendron Variegated Domesticanums have made it to a local grocery store called H-E-B. They were for $50, but what I can say about Fitzgerald's Tropicals is, say this one is for $45. Look at the variegation on the plants. They really have some really good specimens and variegation, and I would still say that their plant pricing is still fair within the, you know, what is out there in the market. I mean, especially for the Monstera albo. So this one is for $135, but look at how high the variegation is right here. Look at that marbling on the leaves, and you know, if I didn't have another Monstera albo already, I would probably purchase this one because it's still within a good price range. You're not asking for crazy prices. And so for me, if you're going to ask my honest opinion, and I will tell you, Fitzgerald Tropicals does not sponsor me. And that's the thing about a lot of these plant reviews is I like to just go to these small businesses and really showcase their plants. Like this one right here, if you want one for $65, look at that half moon leaf on this Monstera albo. And for me, I just like to showcase these small businesses because they do have higher quality plants, in a sense that there is just a little bit more care that's put into it versus maybe finding a plant from at a big box store. Now, as far as those major plant nurseries that supply to big box stores, they have phenomenal plants. However, once they make it into a big box store, it becomes a little bit more questionable on the plant's health. I would say even with this right here, for instance, Monstera albo right here, look at that variegation. There's various variegation. What I can tell is that they have pretty good variegation to the point where I don't think that if you bought a Monstera albo from Fitzgerald's Tropicals, that it would just necessarily revert back. That is always going to be the risk for Monstera albos. My tip for a Monstera albo is if you start to see it green up, I would cut it back to the node where it starts to revert and see if it will activate a new growth point. And if that new growth point happens to push out some variegation, then you're good to go. You know, with variegated plants, and that's the thing about variegation, unless it is a Monstera Thai constellation where it's a tissue culture plant that is going to hold on to its variegation, many plants are actually prone to reverting. So there's a little bit more effort to actually maintaining the variegation of the plant. So, you know, as a tip for anybody looking for Monstera albos like this one right here, this is another beautiful specimen right here, $175. You will see that there are various prices for their Monstera albo, and that's really based on the variegation that the plant is already showing. You can see that a lot of the Fitzgerald's tropical Monstera albos all share a very common genetic, and that is high variegation. Some may have a little bit lower variegation than others. What I would say about Monstera albo, especially if that is one of your wish list plants, If you buy a lower variegated Monstera Albo, it's probably going to maintain a lower rate of variegation. That's not always the case, because I've seen Monstera Albos that had very little variegation, but as you continue to chop it up, for some reason there's always that lucky person that gets the variegation to come out like this. But if you are willing to put in a little bit more money in terms of just your investment into the plant because you want that variegation, then go ahead and save a little bit more money, really look at the plant and really see if you want to get that variegation up front versus just waiting for that variegation to randomly happen, because that is not always going to be the case. Now, as far as variegated Monstera adansonii, they also specialize in that. I happen to have one that is doing very well for me. Now, as far as a variegated plant, Monstera adansonii actually is a fast grower for me. This one is for $45, and you can see that they have some really good variegation for it. If you have Instagram plant folies, or anybody watching this video, definitely follow Fitzgerald's Tropicals. They have in Instagram, they say that they don't post nearly as much, but you can reach out to them directly by sending them a direct message. I know that they'll either do some Instagram live sales, or you can just reach out to them. They could potentially do a contactless curbside pickup. I've done that before. I happened to go to their plant pop-up, and at the time I actually didn't buy the Monstera Albo that I was eyeing. I was so thankful that I ended up actually getting it, because it was on the chopping block to get propagated for more. So, you know, I lucked out on that. Super thankful. Thank you guys, Fitzgerald's Tropicals, for doing that. And this Monstera Stadliana Aurea, $35. Look at that variegation again. And, you know, we've seen Monstera Stadliana variegated form as a trending tropicals by Costa Farms, but we don't see the Aurea form nearly as much. And you can see that the variegation that they have for these Monstera Stadliana Aureas are a quality variegated plant, and it's for $35. Another variegated plant that's pretty fast growing, actually. A lot of times whenever you have high variegated plants, the plant's vigor or growth isn't nearly as high because there's less green for chlorophyll for it to really be vigorous. I mean, you got to think, anytime there's a plant that is variegated, the variegated form does not contribute to the plant being able to photosynthesize. And when the plant's not able to photosynthesize as compared to like a plant that is just green that has all that chlorophyll, its nutrients and growth is going to be a little bit more stunted typically. However, that is not always the case. And this is really interesting. They have a Philodendron silver sword for $10. I was actually thinking about buying this as well, just because Philodendron silver sword used to be quite expensive about 4 to 5 years ago. Now it is considered a common plant, although I will say big box stores are not really pushing out Philodendron silver sword. I love the plant. It's got a beautiful silver foliage. And then Philodendron heteroraceum variegated form, that's another plant of the Philodendron heteroraceums that I don't really have a big specimen for, and I was actually tempted to purchase that. I believe that one is for $30. It is one of those Philodendron heteroraceums that you've got to give it quite a bit of light in order for it to really get that variegation. Otherwise it becomes a little bit more green. Philodendron Jose Buono for $45. Good variegation, a really good and fair price, especially one that's already pretty established. Now with Jose Buono, you want to try to give it quite a bit of light for it to really push out that variegation. I would say lighting conditions for this one will impact the variegation. With rare or uncommon plants, especially the variegated plants, it's not always the light that opens up that variegation for plants. Some plants, for instance, like the Philodendron Pink Princess, for instance, it's really the initial genetics of the plant. Like a Monstera Alba, we talked about that as well. I'm featuring it here. It's really the initial genetics of the plant. Now, as far as this particular Syngonium, this is a Syngonium Panda for $20. So it's a pretty good price for a Syngonium Panda. I would say with all Syngoniums, whether it's rare, uncommon, or common, Syngoniums are very easy to care for plants if you are not in underwater. What I mean by that is if you allow Syngoniums to dry out completely and not water them for more than like a week or two after being dried out completely in terms of their soil, they will really not do well. They will start to drop leaves. Their leaves will will start to get yellow. They're a little bit more susceptible to plant pests. So that would just be the caution for it. But as far as like a beautiful variegated plant like this, Syngonium panda is amazing. I love the marbling and the speckling of the leaves. You can see that there is a little bit more sectoral variegation. This plant was super expensive, as in like $200 for a one leaf, one node cutting about 4 years ago. And now you can find them for about $20. Now with all Syngoniums, they are easy to propagate from plant cuttings. And so I actually saw a bunch of rare Syngoniums that were new to the market at PlantCon 2024. And again, if you've discovered this video for the first time in my channel, definitely check out my playlist of PlantCon 2024 videos. But I saw a bunch of Syngoniums that were just new to the market that were like $100, $200. I had to refrain from it, even though I was really excited to collect them, just because I know if you wait long enough, the plant pricing, especially for Syngoniums, tends to go down because it is a plant that is easy to propagate from cuttings. Now, this is what I was looking for. So the reason why I went to Fitzgerald's tropical pop-up is because I wanted to buy myself a Monstera aurea. Look at the leaves and then look at the roots. This one is for $90. And Monstera aurea, as far as number one, the variegation, it's a little bit more tricky than the Monstera albo. Most of the variegation will have some browning. It's just a tough plant to really maintain. You can see right here, they have it for $70, for instance. Monstera aureas are a little bit more, I guess they're a little bit tougher to find and source out really good qualities. But again, with Fitzgerald's Tropicals, they have some really good genetics for a lot of their Monsteras, whether it's Monstera albo or Monstera aurea. And so I will be finding one that is within my price range to grow, because I've been super satisfied about my Monstera albo. And then, like you can see right here, Monstera albo, wow. it's got a little tag that says, wow, this is for $275, and love the marbling on the leaves. You can literally chop this up and get multiple Monstera albos. And if you look closely at the stems are highly variegated, which means that if you were to propagate this through just water propagation, I just water propagate all of my Monstera albos, it will root, and then it will potentially push out another variegated leaf. So for me, $275, that's a pretty good price, because you can chop that up into multiple plants. You can potentially trade them, you can potentially sell them, etc. For me, I don't really buy plants that are expensive with the intent of really propagating and selling them. Some find it as a business, but for me, it's all about just, you know, sourcing the plant because I want the plant. Like this one here is $135. I'm actually debating on whether I should get this one because it's already established. It's got some fenestrations. It's got some variegation on all the leaves. And whenever you're looking for a Monstera albo, a Monstera aurea, take a look specifically at the stems. That's where you want to see is where if the stems are pretty variegated, not the last leaf that's unfurled. That's not going to dictate the variegation. And you know, a lot of people have that misconception that if you see a Monstera that has all this like variegation, like the last leaf was highly variegated, the next leaf may not. But like this one right here, beautiful variegation. So it's one of those things, plant foldies, that as we continue to look at some of these more rare and uncommon plants, aside from the big box store house plants, that's one thing I would suggest. I'm not an expert, but what I've seen in the past is if you find more so the stems and nodes being more variegated, you have a better chance of having that really high variegation that a lot of people look for. Right here, Monstera albo for $45, but you can see that the new growth point has variegation, so it did fall on that stem that was variegated. And you know, a lot of the people who do go to Fitzgerald's Tropicals, what I like about it is a lot of these people who support the business are very plant knowledgeable, as well as Fitzgerald's Tropical. They will tell you the plant care tips. They will help you pick a plant that is within your budget that you're going to be comfortable with. And I love the fact that North Havens allows them to have plant pop-ups, because for me, if I'm going to buy a plant for that price, like $100+, I have more confidence buying a plant in person, being able to inspect the plant, being able to look at the nodes, being able to look at the stems, and really feel confident that I'm going to have a plant that's going to last me a little bit more long term, and I'm going to be more satisfied. That's why, you know, as far as like being able to source out plants online, definitely want to support those that do sell online. But if you're able to go to a plant pop-up, definitely check them out. And then right over here again, plant foldies, Monstera Sedliana aurea. I think I may end up getting that as well. So I wasn't really planning on buying a Monstera Sedliana aurea, but what my Monstera Sedliana variegated form, not the aurea form, it has done me so well in terms of just being able to grow at a pretty fast rate. Now, as far as the variegation, that one, you really want to give it quite a bit of light for it to really push out some great variegation. And then over here, plant foldies, they've got some more philodendron. So right here is a philodendron strawberry shake for $40. I ended up getting a philodendron strawberry shake from PlantCon, from an Indonesian plant seller called Art Garden Flowers. I intend to buy more Aglaonema actually from Art Garden Flowers at the Texas Aeroid Show in Houston, Texas, October 26th. And I am so excited to share this news that I was actually chosen as an official plant influencer. I never really thought of myself as a plant influencer, but hey, plant foldies, if you are, I guess, watching my videos and you're enjoying it, thank you for the support. I'm super excited to be able to feature Texas Aeroid Show. So definitely check them out if you're in the local Houston area, or if you plan to do a Houston trip. The tickets are on sale. It is an event that's going to happen from 11 to 6, but I would recommend getting the early access tickets if you want to avoid the crowds and if you really want to go shopping for those plants, because I'll tell you, there's so many great vendors and those vendors are going to have some amazing plants. Now, as far as all of the philodendron I've shown you, you can see that we have Philodendron Florida Beauty. Love Philodendron Florida Beauty. Again, with the variegation, it really just depends on the stems and just the genetics as well as the health. I mean, not the health, but the amount of light you're providing it. So one thing I will say is I ended up getting a Philodendron Florida Beauty about 4 years ago as a one node, one leaf cutting, and it took forever to actually propagate it in water until I put Pothos cuttings, and then it actually rooted. I was able to like get it together and get it to grow. I ended up transferring it into a 10-inch planter. I neglected it, and now it has variegated leaves that I want, or variegated stems that I want to chop up and get a couple of cuttings, but then there was a portion that just reverted back to green. So with Philodendron Florida Beauty, I would say the variegation could become a little bit more stable, but that's if you're paying attention to what the leaves are pushing and what the stems are telling you. So if it starts to revert all the way to green, you might want to chop it back a little bit more aggressively. And that's just from my experience. So, again, I never claim to be a professional or somebody that knows it all. It's literally what I've learned from my grandmother, what I've learned from you guys actually leaving plant comments in the comment section, and then just me asking questions. I think that that's really important whenever you go plant shopping, whether it's at a local nursery or a big box store. Well, maybe not a big box store, but you can always ask questions, but doing your research as well. So like if I'm going to buy a Philodendron Burley Marks, for instance, this one's a variegated form. Know that this particular philodendron could potentially break your heart because it is one of those philodendron that the variegation is not as stable, and it is known to actually revert, and that's just part of it. Whenever you're buying these more uncommon or rare variegated plants, know that there is a risk of reverting, and so you have to really stay on top of the plants. Like right here, we've got a Epipremnum pinnatum marble for $30. I ended up getting one of them from Fitzgerald's Tropicals, and mine has been doing well. It's a little bit of a slower grower when it first establishes in these small, starter plants. But if you put it out on like a totem pole or a moss pole and let the roots develop, it will start to push off. And it's the same thing with the Epipremnum pinnatum Albo. This one's only for $15. For $15, you can get this Albo, for instance. Get it to grow, get it to start trailing, chop it up, propagate it in water, stick it back into the soil, and you can get a full plant. Some people will grow that as a hanging trailing plant. For me, I wouldn't really grow it as a hanging trailing plant because where it is actually endemic, which is my home country, the Philippines, you'll see Epipremnum pinnatums actually growing up trees, totem poles, things of that nature, and they become very massive. They start to fenestrate and really split their leaves. They get really good sizes in their leaves, and that's because that is their natural habit of growing. So oftentimes whenever we take plants from their natural habitat, we want to like grow it as a trailing plant or a hanging basket, but you're not going to get the full potential of the plant. Over here, for instance, is a Philodendron tortum. Very interesting philodendron. I've always thought that this philodendron would be a little bit more delicate because of how fine the leaves are, but it's actually a very hardy philodendron. Philodendron Jose Buono, $45 again. You know, you might be able to find a couple, you know, for a little bit less of a price, but it's going to be a smaller plant. And that's the thing also, plant foldies, is some of these philodendron take quite a bit to grow. And so if you're willing to invest a little bit more money to get a pretty good size established plant, I would go ahead and do it. I've been doing that a lot with some of my larger foliage plants. You know, if I wanted a bigger, like say, Dieffenbachia, for instance, which is what I did. I spent $39, but the Dieffenbachia is already 4 feet tall. That's just my opinion. So it just depends on what you are willing to pay, what prices you're looking at. Like for $20, Philodendron tortum. Now, you could probably find a bigger Philodendron tortum at a big box store, for instance, for $19.84 at Costa Farms. But know that whenever you are purchasing plants from a small business, you're allowing somebody to pursue their dreams, to live their passion, and to make somebody happy, because for me, that's part of it as well. And as I continue to create plant content for you guys, I've been able to meet a lot of kind people, you know, the folks behind Fitzgerald's Tropicals. What an awesome couple. And I really hope that they continue to grow their business, because it's people like them that allow us to get a hold of some of these more uncommon and rare plants. And I love the fact that these plants are sustainably sourced, because they weren't, you know, plants that were poached out from the wild. These are plants that are grown in-house, indoors, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that, you know, I love that. I love seeing small businesses, local businesses really thrive. A lot of my content is big box store plant shopping videos, but I've stated before, the reason why I do a lot of big box store plant shopping videos is, number one, the plants are just more readily available, you know. And then number two, not all of our viewers, our plant folies, are fortunate to have many local nurseries like that of what we have out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I will say that most places have a big box store, and for the most part, big box stores will source some of these plants. But seeing a plant pop up like this, to be able to see some of these plants, love it. And, you know, with like the Syngonium, the Philodendron Florida Ghost, for instance, they've got some Philodendron Paraíso Verde. Got lots of that. If you're still looking for a variegated Monstera tricolor, that is one that they also have as well. I remember when that plant was insanely expensive, and now they have some pretty cost-effective plant pricing. And then as well as this Monstera Stadliana aurea, you can see that they've got more of the sectoral, and then they also have the more marbling form. And what's interesting is these are all coming from the same mother plant, so you can see that there is slight differences in the variegation. But one thing that is common is that variegation is amazing. And so I did want to show you the Monstera aurea. I ended up purchasing from Fitzgerald's Tropicals. I got a really good price for it, and you can see that the new leaf is already unfurled. What I need to do with this particular plant, though, is make sure that there is some pretty good humidity. Also, I don't want to repot that plant just yet. I do want to put it in a different substrate, a little bit more chunky, but that's another plant that I am going to just, you know, monitor and let it acclimate to my space. So a lot of times we'll want to take a new plant home, repot it. I wouldn't suggest that unless you really have to, as in if the plant shows signs of root rot, something of that nature. But for the most part, let it acclimate into your space first before you do anything else. But anyways, I ended up taking that Monstera into my car with the windows down because I didn't want it to like overheat and die. But I did want to walk back in there and show some of the plants that was it North Haven Gardens offers. You can see that they have some lemon trees here, and one thing I am looking for is what you call calamansi, which is basically the Philippine lime. I am in the hunt for that, so if I'm able to find one of those, I will purchase it. But I did want to show you the outdoor section here. They also have like shrubs and bushes that you can purchase, and then just other plants that are readily available. But we're gonna walk back into the tropical greenhouse, so we're gonna see what else they have over here.
Reflected all of the love from up above. We used to feel like a glove.
And we're back at the tropical greenhouse, and you can see right over here we do have a bunch of starter planters or plants for terrariums, and we're gonna walk over to this table right here. This table features a bunch of bromeliads, and there are many different bromeliads. Typically, we see the more flowering ones at big box stores, but you'll see different uncommon ones like this one right here. Now, I don't know all of the plant IDs for all these bromeliads. Bromeliads look super cool. I love the foliage of the bromeliads, and as you can see right here, North Haven Gardens has many varieties to pick from. So I'm just gonna pick up a couple of them and show you all of these right here. This one is for $19.99. I'm not sure what this particular bromeliad plant ID is here, but as you can see, plant foldies, they've got many varieties to choose from, many different colors, many different leaf shapes and textures, and so hopefully you find one that's really interesting to you. I wasn't really a fan of bromeliads from the get-go, but after seeing so many different varieties, I have grown to like them. I only have one bromeliad in my plant collection, but hopefully I'll be able to add some more. I prefer the ones that have more of the pink or neon coloration, but you can even see right here, this green on green variegation is a really nice looking bromeliad. This again is for $19.99. So I'm just gonna keep showing you a couple of varieties of bromeliads. Let me know in the comment section which ones you like, which ones you grow. I would love to see some more feedback from y'all. So definitely take a look at these and let me know what you think. And as you can see, plant foldies, they've got many different varieties of bromeliads, and I just really like the patterns as well. Now, as far as care tips, you definitely want to keep bromeliads more so on the moist side, so you don't really want them to dry out completely. As far as propagation, I believe you can separate bromeliads because they do send out little pups, or what you call little babies, from the sides. Again, I don't really grow a lot of bromeliads, so for those that are more in tune with bromeliad care tips, please leave care tips in the comments. But I'm going to pan away over here and keep walking around to show you some more of these varieties. And let's see, this one right here has a really interesting look on it. It has like a zebra type pattern. This one is more affordable though. This is only $14.99 in a 5-inch planter, and you can see that it does have a bloom right over here. And we're just going to keep looking at some more of these bromeliads.
You don't want my heart, you don't want my love, you just want me crying over you. You don't want my heart, you don't want my love, you just want me crying over you. And I'm thinking about you.
And right next to the bromeliads, we do have some mixed planters of African violets. Now, as far as African violets, one thing I would suggest though for African violets is you definitely don't want to get the leaves wet or the stems wet, because that'll easily get them to rot off. As far as African violets, they do like more acidic soil. If you're gonna water African violets, you want to water them from the bottom. So bottom watering them by putting like water in a saucer, sticking the entire planter in there and letting the drainage hole suck up the water. I would suggest that way it doesn't really like get the leaves wet or the stems wet, because that is one way to rot off the African violet. And then here is one of the more interesting bromeliads right over here. This one is for $59.99, but I do love the form and the shape of this particular bromeliad. So that's one, again, that actually just showcases the varieties of different types of bromeliads that they have. This one right over here is another one I like. I really like that high contrast as well as the pink of the bromeliad. And again, we're going to go look at these African violets again. They have 3 different varieties of African violets in this 6-inch planter. Now these ones I believe are for $19.99. I have 2 different African violets. All of them are variegated forms. And then we're going to be looking at some blooming Anthuriums. So Anthuriums, love Anthuriums. I have really grown to like them because I have figured a way to grow Anthuriums to where it's going to be a little bit easier for me. Now, as far as the blooming Anthuriums, now these are the common ones that you can find at grocery stores, big box stores, that sort of thing, local nurseries like North Haven Gardens. I recently bought one that looks similar to this actually at Home Depot. And what I did is I actually took the soil substrate, got rid of all of the soil, and then I actually put this particular blooming blooming Anthurium into pond, which is a semi-hydro substrate. And you know, even transferring it into pond, you can't even tell that the plant was moved from soil to pond. It really took well to pond. And as far as you know, growing Anthuriums, I would really suggest, if you haven't already, try growing them in semi-hydroponics, which would basically be like a substrate like leca or pond. I have found that as far as the watering, you don't have to worry as much about it because there is a water reservoir, and the actual substrate actually sucks it up to where the roots are always going to remain a little bit more moist. Now, as far as growing Anthuriums, you want to make sure that you are putting them in levels of humidity that is at least 60 to 70% humidity. That is when they're going to be most happy. And I found that in my plant room, since I'm able to run humidifiers, a lot of my Anthuriums do well because of those environment. And again, you know, as far as this one right here, for instance, this is an Anthurium Hokieri mint. So this is more of like a bird's nest type Anthurium. I love Anthuriums for the velvety textures, but as you can see right here, they come in many different varieties. I don't want to go overboard by like trying to collect as many Anthuriums, because Anthuriums, regardless of whether you have them in semi-hydroponics, chunky soil mixes, they are still more of an advanced level type plant. This isn't a plant that you can just pick up and think that you can put it in ambient humidity and then be able to grow. Now, I would say for these blooming Anthuriums, yes, those are probably going to be a lot easier to take care of as compared to the more advanced level of Anthuriums, like this Anthurium magnificum, which I have. This one is for $19.99. I've had one for a couple years now, and it is doing fabulous. The leaves have gotten a lot larger, and again, just moving them into a substrate like pond has really helped me with my Anthurium collection. And that's one collection that I do want to add and grow, because they have so many beautiful leaves. You know, I recently was able to go to a nursery called Steve's Leaves Nursery. It's not open to the public, but I will say I was able to do a hour-long walkthrough video. So I don't think there's a lot of plant videos that really feature that particular nursery in depth. So I was so thankful that I was able to get access to that. You know, special thanks to my friend Jordan, who works at Steve's Leaves Nursery, as well as Ryan, the operations manager, for allowing me and trusting me to take some content and film that to be able to show all of the plant foldy lovers. So for those that are interested in that video, I am working hard to get that out sometime next week, so you will see that. But as far as North Haven Gardens, you can see that they do have quite a bit of blooming Anthuriums. This one has like some of the new leaves that unfurl that have like a darker foliage about it. Now these are mostly for $14.99. So they're pretty affordable. The blooming Anthuriums, I would say, would be more of a beginner level plant. So somebody that's just getting into houseplants, that it would be a plant that I would recommend growing as compared to all the other Anthuriums. You can see they've got some beautiful blooms right here, and it is quite common to find at a lot of big box stores and local nurseries. And this is one plant that I would highly recommend as a beginner plant. Approaching one of my favorite plants, the Hydra helix, or what you call the Hedera helix or English ivy. Now, North Haven Gardens has a bunch of them that are trailing in hanging baskets. Now, these are all for $19.99. Beautiful English ivy, or what you call the Hedera helix. They're very healthy. It looks like they just got a shipment of English ivy. And you know, what's interesting is a lot of nurseries don't really carry a lot of English ivies because English ivies are very much spider mite prone magnets. And it's interesting that North Haven Gardens actually has English ivy, but you know, needless to say, beautiful plant if you can grow them outdoors. Now, as far as another hanging basket, this one is a Philodendron micans for I believe $29.99. That is actually a really good price for a hanging basket of Philodendron micans. And I love Philodendron micans because of the velvety texture of the leaves. It's a very fast grower actually, and so I'm surprised that like Costa Farms doesn't have hanging baskets of Philodendron micans, considering they have like the Philodendron hederaceum. So it's always interesting to see what type of hanging basket plants are available. You can see right here again, we've got some Hydra helix, or what you call the Hedera helix. That's the correct way to say it. We've got the green forms as well. These are all for $19.99. So as far as like a hanging basket of English ivy, I would love to be able to take one of these, grow them indoors. But again, they are very spider mite prone plants. And I don't really want to discourage people from growing English ivies. At least in my care, I've had situations where they literally just get spider mites, and it's unfortunate because it is a beautiful plant. Now, as far as orchids, we've got different types of orchids. So these are not the typical Phalaenopsis orchids that you would find at like a big box store or a grocery store. North Havens has many different types of orchids. They've got dendrobian orchids, they've got calathea orchids, and so I'm just gonna go pan around here and show you these orchids. I'm not really versed in orchids as much as like, you know, knowing the plant IDs for orchids, but what I do know is that orchids, if you're able to give them higher humidity levels, they're gonna love it. They are considered epiphytes, so orchids like to attach themselves on like tree bark or something of that nature. You definitely don't want to ever pot up an orchid in like potting soil mix. That will definitely kill the plant. They are more so I guess they like to just be attached to like orchid, you know, like bark. So whenever you put them in like orchid bark mixture, that's the type of substrate you would do. There are some orchids that are called terrestrial orchids, which would be like the jewel orchid that can grow in soil, but for the most part I would recommend always putting orchid in orchid bark or even potential sphagnum moss. But I do think that growing orchids in sphagnum moss long term could be a little bit risky because sphagnum moss does hold quite a bit of moisture, and as far as like what I would say with the orchid roots, you don't really want to keep them wet. Now, this is considered a jewel orchid, and jewel orchids again are considered terrestrial orchids that can grow in soil substrates. Now these are for $14.99, and you know, as far as like jewel orchids, they're not necessarily grown for the blooms. They're more so grown for their beautiful foliage. I did find some beautiful orchids, jewel orchids at Peta's Planters for a really good price, only $18.99. They were much larger than the ones at North Havens. Brings me to the point again, this is a reason why I love making plant shopping videos, whether it's a big box store plant shopping video or a local nursery plant shopping video like this, because then if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you are always going to be informed with the latest pricing, what plants are entering the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you are watching this video and you do enjoy this content, please make sure you are hitting the subscribe button, but not only hitting the subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell on. That way you are always notified whenever I do a live premiere chat. I did fall off and take 2 days off from premiering a video just because, you know, the previous day, I think it was Thursday, I really had a rough day just in general, and I just really needed to just relax and chill. And then Friday, I actually, you know, celebrated a very special day to me. And so I just wanted to have the day where I focused on that versus really scrambling to try to get some plant content. So for those that have stuck around and are watching my videos, I do really appreciate you understanding that I wasn't able to premiere those last 2 days. I do miss being able to share my love for plants and just to be able to get you that daily plant content, because even before I did plant shopping videos or YouTube channel, I had a couple of YouTubers that I would follow very closely, and I would always like be excited to watch their premieres. And whenever they stayed on schedule, that is when I was really most engaged. So like I understand that like I have kind of committed to doing daily plant shopping videos. It has become a little bit more of a challenge as of late, but you know, for those that are sticking around and really watching my videos, really engaging with me, really interacting with me, I really do appreciate it. So as far as the plants though, what I do love about North Haven Gardens, and I featured North Haven Gardens multiple times on this channel, is the fact that they have a lot of succulents and cactus. So this one is for $7.99. I do love the lavender tone about this particular succulent and cactus. You know, once you pick up one cactus and you start to really admire like the shape, the color, or the texture, it's very easy to get lost and want to just collect them all. I think that's really with any other plant genus. You can just really get into it. Like this one right here, this is a very interesting cactus for $59.99. I love the twisting hurricane look about it. And what's even more of an added bonus is it has some beautiful fuchsia and pink blooms when it blooms, and it can get fairly large. So this tornado cactus right here, I don't know if I can really grow that long-term outdoors in my grow zone, but it is really pretty. And then you can see right here, it's funny that North Haven Garden says do not water. These are cactus feathers. Very interesting looking cactus right there. It doesn't have like the spiky spikes that it has, but some cactus have that has more like a feathery tone about it. And let's take a look at this. So this is another one, a variegated San Pedro crested cactus. I really like the look of that as well, and this would be one that I would want to add to my collection. It's $74.99, so it is a little bit pricey, but if I were to add a cactus to my collection, this would definitely be one, just because of the coloration of it, and it's just a really interesting cactus. If I am going to add more cactus or succulents into my collection, I definitely would consider more so those types of interesting, unique ones, just because as you add more plants to your collection, for instance, like I would love to add another Alocasia to my collection. Like this Alocasia poly is really pretty. The thing about it is I'm being a little bit more selective in what Alocasia I add to my collection, because number one, Alocasias are actually a more advanced level plant to grow. They're just a little bit more challenging to grow in like an indoor space. So if I'm going to add more of those, it would have to be something that would be a little bit more standout or something more interesting for me. Monstera constellations, I could add many of those to my collection. Now I do understand Monstera constellations can get large, but I love the fact that they have stable variegation. So, you know, we saw a bunch of those Monstera albos, Monstera aureas from Fitzgerald Tropicals that are doing, and you know, they're currently doing a plant pop-up inside this you know, specific greenhouse. But as far as Monstera constellations, I mean, here's the thing with them, they are going to remain having really good variegation, stable variegation, because it is one of those tissue culture plants that has that initial genetics. I did notice that the more light you do give a Monstera constellation, the more it's going to push out some really interesting variegation. And then I love Chiflera plants. So this is one only for $5.99. I was actually tempted to purchase this one because of the value. So it's for $5.99. This is an easy to care for plant. This is a plant that my grandmother, who has started out with something like this size, was able to grow into like almost a full-blown tree. She's able to take cuttings and actually just continue to propagate it. And that is what's exciting about this particular plant, is it is easy to grow. It's easy to take care of inside indoor spaces, and it's also easy to multiply and propagate. So those characteristics is something that I believe, as far as like a houseplant enthusiast, somebody that loves plants should really consider whenever you're going to be putting something into your home. Dieffenbachia, so I am into Dieffenbachia. I know that Dieffenbachia are more challenging to grow indoors. They require quite a bit of light. They are a little bit more spider mite prone. But for instance, I ended up getting a Dieffenbachia for $39.99. It was like a 4 or 5 foot plant that I got at Callaway's Nursery for $39.99. So I just couldn't pass up the price. But as far as Dieffenbachia, whenever I was on vacation to the Philippines back in August, I saw massive ones and they were just living their best life. Like, I think if you increase the humidity levels in your home, if you're able to give them some light, whether you just like supplement them with like a grow light, I think Dieffenbachia become a little bit more easy to care for indoors. Now here is a Philodendron Black Cardinal, and what I love about Philodendron Black Cardinal is as it matures, it becomes a darker foliage philodendron. It's not one that you would typically find at a big box store or much less even at local nurseries. So it's nice to see that North Havens has this. This one is for $16.99. I was also tempted to purchase this particular philodendron. Most philodendrons in general, if you're going to ask me, are actually easy to take care of. It's not something that you're going to have to put so much effort into. Same thing with Hoya. So this one is another Hoya for $24.99, and there is a whole new world of just people who love Hoyas. When I started looking at Hoyas, it wasn't something that really interests me, but look at that. This is a beautiful one that I would add to my collection. What makes Hoyas attractive for me is they are very forgiving plants, as in they're very drought tolerant. And so even if you don't water one for like a month, at least in my care, it did not die. They will definitely shrivel a little bit, but when you water them, they just kind of perk back up after 24 to 48 hours. Alocasia Milo, that is another Alocasia I like. For when you touch the leaves, it's very much a very thick leathery texture. I was able to put it into pon and it has made it into the conversion. So I'm hoping that as it becomes more acclimated to its actual substrate, in my care, it will actually grow and really thrive. I'm really hoping that that would be the one that works out for me. And then as Alocasia, this variegated Alocasia for $29.99, I would love to add it to my collection, but I do feel like it is going to be one of those Alocasias that are going to be a little bit more finicky. Dracaena Malaika Lime. This is a Dracaena that I bought at this location. It is doing very well for me. Again, Dracaena, these types of Dracaenas, easy to care for, very underrated plant. I just feel like if you've been watching my channel for the last couple months, I think that you should at least consider taking one of these Dracaenas, whether you find it as a big box store like Costa Farms Trending Tropical Plant or just Exotic Angel Plant. It is a very easy to care for plant, but you can see they've got a new rack here of a new shipment. And then I'm just going to walk around here, plant foliage, and show you some more like cactus, succulents, and euphorbias. We have some grow folds, plant foliage that do like succulents and cactus, and I have made attempts to really try to feature them, even though I am not necessarily like an expert for these types of plants. Like, this is a variegated crown of thorns. Really like the look of it. It's very prickly indeed. Love the variegation. I also love the blooms, but I'm attempting to learn more about succulents and cactus. Eventually, once I start to hone in and focus on the plant IDs, I'll be able to speak about, succulents and cactus with a little bit more confidence. And that's the reason why plant foliage, if you are somebody who loves succulents and cactus, like this Kalanchoe Chocolate Soldier, one of my favorite succulents, just because I love Kalanchoes, especially the dark foliage ones that are kind of fuzzy like that. As I become more, confident about the plant IDs, I'll be able to talk more about the plant care tips. It's interesting because succulents and cactus, most people will say that they all need that bright light, but how much light do you really give them? Are you able to take all succulents and put them in direct sunlight? I tried to do that and I ended up killing my succulents and cactus, and that's the reason why I feel like I have to know a little bit more specifics about these particular succulents and cactus for me to give that plant tip. But as far as North Havens is concerned, you can see they have many varieties of succulents and cactus. They've got, mixed planters. They even got agave. Love that as well. And, that's another plant that I would consider growing in my landscape, because agave can actually grow in my grow zone, which is 8B, even past the winter. So like, that's something interesting. And look at all of these ponytail palms. I didn't even realize that ponytail palms are, not even palms, they're actually succulents. And then we're gonna go over here. This is some type of not succulent, this is some type of Hoya on a trellis. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about Epipremnum aureum, or what you would call pothos plant. So Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos. This is one of the newer varieties of pothos that has made it into the market. This one is not a bad not a bad price for this pothos. I do think that some people haven't gotten this pothos. I'm just very fortunate to, again, live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where there is a strong love for plants, huge community of plant lovers, and many local nurseries, big box stores to choose from. Epipremnum aureum neon queen pothos is also called the variegated version of the neon pothos. Love this as well, but the only thing about this pothos is, in order to maintain that beautiful variegation, you've really got to give it quite a bit of light. Otherwise, it starts to revert back to more of a neon green color versus having that really nice variegation as well. It's interesting because a lot of pothos, and I only learned this, come from, like all of these different types of varieties that may make it into the market are really mutations of the variegation. Epipremnum aureum in general has what I would say a more unstable variegation. So it really depends on what that lighting condition looks like for these particular plants. And it's interesting because the Japanese pothos that I've seen, it's really because of mutations that they discovered. They were able to propagate that particular characteristic, whether it's a variegation, whether it's a leaf shape, and that particular propagation was able to maintain that characteristic to where they were able to create that. But as you can see right here, we've got some pearls and jade pothos. We've got some type of Hoya, which I'm not really familiar. It's pretty large on a trellis. And let's see what other pothos we have over here. Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue. So this is, again, for $14.99, endemic to my home country, which is the Philippines. Again, I am a proud Filipino American. I really do believe that there should be more I guess just more awareness of how many plant lovers that are from the Philippines that have these amazing collections. I myself just have a very modest collection when you compare some of the Filipinos that I've seen have some of these collections. And it's interesting because a lot of these plants that I pick up, like $12.99 for this golden pothos, I'm telling you, plant foldies, if you were to go back to the Philippines, these plants literally grow like weeds. These plants don't have what we have to have called plant care tips, because Mother Nature, the environment itself, takes care of the plant. Now, as far as this Philodendron brantianum, love the look of this. That metallic shine on it has a beautiful look. And $14.99 for this is actually a really, really good price for it. So Philodendron brantianum was actually another plant that was a little bit more uncommon, a little bit more pricey a couple years back. It's nice to see that this is actually more readily available. And that's what makes plant collecting more exciting, is when these plants have become a little bit more readily available for the average consumer like myself, and perhaps you. I don't know if there's a lot of people who watch my channel that are really die-hard like philodendron or rare aroid collectors. For me, I'm just one of those people that if I find the plant and it brings me joy, if the price is right, I'm definitely going to pick up that plant and grow it in my collection, whether it's rare, uncommon, whatever it is. Aglaonemas. We talk about this a lot in my plant shopping videos, but if you haven't gotten into Aglaonemas, please buy an Aglaonema. Please consider getting an Aglaonema. Let's do research on an Aglaonema because it's one of the easiest plants to take care of. Low light tolerant plant, and keyword, it is low light tolerant. That means that the plant can do well in lower light conditions, but they do better when you can give them more, more lighting, like bright indirect light. And here is another beautiful Philodendron brantianum. Love the look of this one. This one's in a 6-inch planter. This one is for $29.99. That is actually a really good price. Again, I'm actually tempted to purchase it. And honestly, a Philodendron brantianum, I think it is more beautiful when it gets a really large leaves, and only, the way you can achieve that is by actually growing it on a pole, a moss pole, a totem pole, something of that nature. But you can also grow that as a trailing plant The thing about growing Philodendron branchium as a trailing plant is as it goes down lower and lower, the leaves become smaller and smaller. Now, here is a beautiful Hoya Lisa. This is actually kind of pricey though for $59.99 in a hanging basket. Like, I feel like you can buy Hoya Lisa in like 2-inch starters, buy a couple for like only $4.99, and you'll get a bigger and more full plant eventually. But beautiful plant. It's one of my favorite Hoyas because of the variegation. And you can see right here, more Philodendron branchianum. The thing about Philodendron branchianum I wanted to add is it does prefer higher humidity levels. Now, as far as this Hoya here, this one is for $24.99, and you can see that there is a little bit more sun stressing on the Hoya. Gotta love that as well. And for me, as I sit here and do my voiceover for this video, I'm sitting in my plant room when I actually do this. I've just noticed the amount of plants I have added literally in the last month, and it's because of these plant shopping videos. Like right here, I would love to take home this Hoya Quintiana, or what you would call the variegated Hoya Wyetii. Beautiful plant. And for me, I'm not necessarily in my Hoya era yet. I'm getting there. I think I'm actually more so in my Anthurium era. But you can see here, I'm just gonna go show you a couple more plants before I end this video. But you can see we've got some desert rose, we've got some Sansevieria, and you know, Sansevieria are marketed as an easy to care for plant. They are. It's not necessarily something that gravitates to me. More so, I like the starfish Sansevieria. Pretty much that's it. But you know, Sansevieria superbia, love that variegation, and this one is for $49.99. As far as propagation for Sansevieria, it's better to just separate them. And as I pan away here, you can see that we've got a Sansevieria Moonlight. To get that minty gray tone about it, you want to give it quite a bit of light. Even though it is low light tolerant, you're not going to get that coloration if it's in lower light conditions. But plant folies, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Growfold. This is Richie. I will have a brand new video for you on Sunday. Definitely check that out. It's going to be an exciting one. See ya.